So that with great respect and without prejudice to your presence, to nominate only you to come amount to disrespecting us as a political party. I'm the leader of the party in parliament. You have the general secretary of the party here. You have the chief of staff of the flag bearer. We have the chairman of the Constitutional Affairs Committee of the party. The members of parliament and the leadership of parliament are all here. But to disrespect our democracy by only nominating you to come, like I said, with great deference to you, it doesn't match it. So it means that the government does not even take serious the grave issues before us. That notwithstanding, we are Democrats and would want to respect the bona fides of democracy. To disrespect our democracy by only nominating you to come, like I said, with great deference to you, it doesn't match it. So it means that the government does not even take serious the grave issues before us. You are bullying, intimidating your political opponent. Why should Wuntumi be in prison? What has he done? How can a judge say that he having a lease allows somebody to do galamsey? So he's vicariously liable. So you put him in jail 20 years. You remove the Chief Justice. What did she do? Because you wanted to capture the judiciary. And today, as all judges are on vacation, the government has directed the Chief Justice to give dispensation to some judges only to try matters involving MPP activists. That is wrong. Again, Iyoko, what Iyoko is doing, they invite you, you go, they say go and bring property worth millions of cedis before you are granted bail. Very onerous bail conditions. That's also wrong. Now you see, there's an election ahead of us, 2028. Unfortunately, Mr. President is not going to stand election again. This third-term agenda you guys are pursuing, has failed. It will not going to happen. It will not happen. So you're going to have your own difficulty looking at how you have failed the people of Ghana. And you are definitely going to be in opposition. Would you be happy if such a thing happened to some of your members?
For instance, what is special about the Hanan case and the Dubuahi case? What is special about them? Why should other courts rest and these specialized courts should continue? Are you giving an impression to the entire world that you are in an ambulance mood to jail people? Why should people not have their vacation? Why should all the judges who are handling rape, murder, robbery, and the rest of criminal cases rest? And why should this be hand-picked for adjudication? That is not the way to go.
We have seen these signals in bits and pieces. And you see, the making of dictatorship is not really foisted on a nation in one fell swoop. Usually they come in bits and pieces. So if you don't flag these matters, perhaps the executive may not observe.
Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. My guest, Kofi Bento, his lawyer, Senior Vice President, Imani Africa, Godfred Bokwing, Professor of Finance and Economist at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwabena Nyako Otu is Deputy Secretary General, Trades Union Congress, TUC, Dennis Miracles Abuaji is Director of Communications, Baumia Campaign, and Sharif Mahmoud Khalid is Associate Professor of Accounting and Finance and Economic Advisor to the Vice President. Right, so these are the gentlemen who are going to help us with our discussions this morning. The NPP says that democracy is under attack. They raised a number of issues in a petition they submitted to the judiciary, the judicial service, saying that they are against selective justice. And as you heard, Atacha and the others in there, well, as we understand, they were not alone in this demonstration. They had a coalition of some political parties and some civil society organizations. We'll get to know who these were. In fact, they speak about interference with the judicial independence and subversion of legal due process. They talk about politically motivated convictions and the era of political prisoners. They talk about the re-emergence of the culture of silence and criminalization of free speech, display of selective justice and political double standards, weaponization of state institutions and constitutional bail violations, and reintroduction of the tribunal system, which they say the president must not sign the bill into law. The bill was passed, it was rescinded, then they went to make some tweaks to it, and then passed it again, and now it is before the desk of the president for what must be done. They speak about an ultimate ulterior motive, veiled third-term agenda. I don't know what the parties know, but the president has denounced this over and again and publicly said he's disinterested, he will not. So I don't know what's going on. They want immediate cessation of political harassment, termination of speech criminalization, equal enforcement of law, and prosecution of NDC officials who are also have been named in Galamsey matters. They speak about the MP for the Awurim area and the chiefs that have spoken about that. They speak about another NDC person and then the two NDC officers. They want strict compliance with constitutional-based standards, as I mentioned earlier, and reaffirmation of judicial independence. Really, people have been asking, democracy under siege. Who is saying that? MPP? Okay. And the first thing people point to is their demonstration ended at the Jubilee House, a place that nobody could get close in demonstrations.
I'm a witness.
Anyway, Kofi.
Yeah.
Prof, welcome.
Morning. Ages.
It's been a while.
Yeah, I say if I don't turn up today.
Good to have you. Good to have you back.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good. Right. So, Kofi.
Yes.
Yeah, is democracy under siege? Is speech criminalization unbridled and so on and so forth?
We'll deal with that.
Okay.
But I was listening to your take, and as usual, good take, and I felt I should make this point. Look, there's a lot to be happy about. I wanted a better word, but to be thankful about as a country. Blessed is the nation whose leader mounts a pulpit in church and preaches.
So often.
Okay? We should not take that for granted. And those of us who are old enough, we knew of situations where our leaders, the accusation was the kinds of sacrifices they were making to get power. We have tolerated for decades people who did not have any pretense to civility or even morality. And the stories were about all kinds of sacrifices and the idols they worship in office. And we tolerated them. The country didn't burn. We didn't become a heathen nation or whatever it is. We have today a president who mounts a pulpit to preach. And I don't take that for granted. Right? And to that extent also, you have someone like Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, a godly man. And for the sake of nation building, it doesn't matter what religion it is or how you pray. A godly man is to be desired at the heights of power. The one thing some people have against him is that he goes to church and he goes to the mosque also. We all know he's a Muslim, a devout Muslim. But I want you all to just take a step and appreciate the fact that here is a godly man, fears God, respects other religions. That thing has value. So kudos to President Mahama for leading the way. But for all of us who have to vote, when the time comes, vote for a godly man.
But how do you feel? Look, I feel so sad. I was at the interfaith, meeting with the chief imam, a man who's been blessed by God, and he's living longer than the false prophets claimed.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are shocked. They thought that maybe at 100 he would die.
Yeah.
And I listened to him speak, and I listened to the Catholic bishops also speak. Bishop Palmer Buckle and the rest of them, the auxiliary bishops, including, Bishop Kofi, Archbishop Kofi were also there.
And the relationship between them.
And it was so nice. Yeah. Please show me that footage again. They've been doing this over a long period. But Kofi, their major concern now is that indiscipline is getting out of control, which President Mahama complained about. We have seen it all over the place.
Yes.
Girls and boys in school are doing the immoral things, and they even have the courage to record them and put them out in the public. The president says this, and go and check what is happening. The same thing is repeating. They are
insulting him.
Oh no.
It's really terrible. And again, you see, when you see pictures like these, you have people from different faiths getting together. And this is not staged. All right? I look at Reverend Palmer Buckle and his relationship with the chief imam. I look at this chief imam. I have ever said somewhere that chief imam is a blessing to this country. And I was asking one of the Muslim leaders, do you have another one like him? Because he will be there forever.
It's like you were there with me. And I said it publicly there that my prayer is that when we have to get a new chief imam,
it will be like this one.
Look,
what we see must never be taken for granted. There are people who look at it and like, is it real? They think it's staged.
Yeah.
This is real. Our leaders are this good. They relate at this level. And yes, we have a problem with insensitive and obscene language. Those of us who defend rights, like rights of free speech, that is our biggest problem. Because immediately you speak about rights, then people bring up these things, and they become the arguments. We strain to explain to people that we are not saying those things are good. But indeed, the way we react to them, we must watch it. But it is so difficult to look at it, and for instance, to expect that nothing will happen. And so seriously,
they want control over the mission schools so that they can get back to the days when we say somebody is trained in the mission school and their moral compass is right.
I'm from this mission school, and I think we should give it back to them. And I've been in that argument. They're giving it back to them. People are like, and then they should pay all the fees. No, they are helping you. Look, religious and moral training, you think it has no value. But that is why we have people in government. And the
character is the first thing. Alina said,
we should really work on that.
Democracy and the siege.
Democracy.
Prof, you want to say something brief about this beautiful thing before we go on?
I mean, you mean the democracy?
No.
I come from a faith. I mean, we're all from the Abrahamic faiths. So we invariably worship the same God, but in different ways. So looking at it within that context and lens, I see this as a fabulous extension of national unity and a symbolism that none of us should take for granted, because there are other countries or other jurisdictions within which you can find different faiths coming. Even though we are not saying we are exclusively a certain denominational state, but this allows for interfaith. And I grew up in a home where we had Muslim-Christian dialogues. We have Catholics, and on Sundays you would have the Reverend Fathers visiting. They have conversations to see how we can strengthen morality. And
let's talk about whether democracy is under siege now. Kofi, let's start with you. And thank you to Sheikh Aremeyao. That man, God bless him, because he's the center. When you see the chief imam, it's him, so to speak.
Is democracy under siege? So see, there is the bigger view you need to have, and you have to take it from the point of what happened as in the demonstration and what they were saying, okay? And for me, I like to make the point that when you talk about an attack on democracy, it never, ever in the history of mankind happens suddenly. It creeps on you as a nation.
Chairman is supposed to say that.
Yes. And the people, read history. I gave a lecture in Germany on this matter, and I was explaining to these white people that the people, Hitler and Mussolini, used democratic principles to enter office. And then when they got into office, they used laws and other things that are supposedly part of the democratic system to cancel out constitutionalism and the democracy they had, made themselves kings essentially, and led their countries into trouble. And everywhere that people have been oppressed, it starts slowly. Look at America today. So when you ask, is democracy under siege? Somebody will tell you, oh, but when you protested, nobody came to beat you up. Look, this is an improvement. Because I was beaten up. I have been attacked by policemen, okay, trying to get close to Jubilee House Gate. So we are moving slowly. But you know what? It is the activists you saw on the road who push the boundaries of freedom and democracy and make your liberty assured. When you see people demonstrating, whether you agree with them or not, first have the respect for the fact that they put themselves on the line to push the boundaries of our democracy. You may not agree with them, but respect their activism. So for me, it doesn't matter to me what you are crying for. The fact that you wake up and put yourself out there, people have died in that process.
Should it not matter that the people who are leading this did worse? And people are asking them, you don't have the moral right to make the claims you are making.
No, and that's why I'm going on and on. You see, when you say you don't have the moral right, what it means is you did something in the past and so you can't come and talk. No. Look, again, those of you who sit at home and watch them, these are the people who guarantee your liberties. The fact that they step out to confront leadership, look, whether you like it or not, the leaders will take a cue. But the central issue, is democracy really under siege? If you look at what is going on today in Ghana, you don't think so. Because I'm a free man, and that's why I live in this country. I don't want to go anywhere. So on a bigger scale, you will say, oh, democracy is not under siege. No, we have a creeping situation which can get worse. You and I, on this table, have had cause to concern about the abuse of freedoms. And we have just complained about intemperate in improper language. We are not supporting that. But we have had cause also to say, hey, the way you are applying these laws is an extension beyond which the framers of the law intended. And when you start that creep, it does not stop. So we have a situation where democracy is always under siege. And the only way that it is guaranteed is when the people, and it is for we the people, not the leaders, assert themselves and once in a while remind the leaders that this realm is ours. You just supervise it. We let the leaders appreciate that, look, we are not your subjects. You lead on our behalf. And so even if we are wrong, even if we did something yesterday that people found to be, immoral or whatever it is, it does not stop us. We don't lose the right to
among their concerns,
say the things we are saying.
Among their concerns, selective justice, is that what you're seeing? So, among their concerns, the tribunal system, is that what you're seeing?
So those are the specific instances. And look, when you talk about selective justice, there are matters of fact. The matters of fact are these. Is it true that we have a spectrum of people who have committed similar or crimes generally? And is it true that there is some selection in their prosecution? Can that fact be made? We can analyze them. We've seen only prosecutors. We have seen a situation today as we speak, where vacation judges are sitting over certain cases. You and I know that vacation judges sit. When the courts go on vacation, by the way, I don't think it's a good thing. It was a colonial relic to allow the white judges to go back and enjoy their holidays every summer. But we have just copied it. I don't see why the whole judicial service should go and leave. We can have, some sort of, planning and facing of it. But
it's not the whole judicial service that goes.
I understand, but what I mean is for the court system, but that's another matter. My point is
the lower courts continue to work.
Yes.
The judicial service staff continue to work.
Yes.
And then the superior courts that get the legal vacation, there is a number that is left.
Yes.
And this time I think they are, what's the number again? I'll check. But sometimes they have been 12, sometimes they have been more than that.
The point is,
right,
some always are left to continue to work.
Right.
But the general, we are all on holiday of sorts. My point is, today, there are questions of why are some people being singled out for that special treatment. So I think, as a matter of fact, there is some selectivity in justice. Look, yesterday I made a point. You know the news that has come out. A court has found in another jurisdiction that people were paid bribes, they collected bribes, okay? And I can tell people, these are some of the things we got to know. Instead of solving the problem, people were monetizing it for their personal gain. That's why we did Doom Summer Stop. Question is, if we don't have selective justice in this country, some of those people who have been fingered, some of those people, their names were not mentioned, but you can directly tell who they are, will be called to ask questions. So question, will they be called? When? Selective justice, I think those who are arguing for selective justice will have enough facts to back what they are saying. But those who are also arguing that we don't have selective justice and we have justice for it, that kind of thing, well, they will have their case too. But the proof of the pudding is in its eating. This government, and by extension, this party NDC, will be judged after 4 years. 2 years have passed. If you draw the report card, there is ground to say that they have been more zealous in prosecuting people in the opposition and more zealous in freeing people from within their ranks. To that extent, therefore, you can claim there's selective justice. All right. So is democracy under attack? For me, I'm not waiting for all of our democracy to be removed from under our feet and for us to fall down before we rise up. So we always have to make sure that we are staying at the forefront and ensuring that we expand the frontiers of freedom.
The legal vacation matter, which also was prominent in this demonstration as selective justice, so to speak. And Atacha kept talking. He says, the main purpose of this demonstration is to bring to the fore that democracy is under attack, and if our president should turn democracy upside down, then we should stand up to it and correct it. Then he went to mention what he calls the courts in an ambulance mode, seeking to fast-track the prosecution of Dubuaheng and the Wuntumi cases, the NSS, MPP, former officials cases. They want to fast-track and then imprison them. The question has been asked, and you see the letters he wrote, and the one that Abdul Hanan's lawyer, Bufferstock, also wrote, Godfrey Dame.
Yeah.
Are you okay with the tone and language? Is it accurate to suggest that vacation courts, the two judges, Kokuvite and Achibonga, have just been selected and they are going to sit on just these cases involving former MPP officials?
I am not okay with the general suggestion, but as a person defending the freedom of his client, I will give him wide latitude. That is one. Number two, is it a fact that there seems to be some selectivity in the treatment? I think so. Because how many other cases are you seeing like that? And look, we all practice in the courts. We would prefer that all our courts, or most of them, are like this. We will prefer that many more of our cases are run like this. It doesn't seem like there is that interest. And I don't think there is a problem with it. Look, I've sat here and said that there are 24 hours in a day. Okay? We work for 8 hours, and 16 hours we don't know what we do with it. Everybody does what they want to do with it. I have sat here and said, if we want to do a 24-hour economy, start in the courts. Today they are doing afternoon courts. Some stop as late as 5 p.m., 6 p.m. Ending work at 5 p.m. is the norm for many workers. I personally will opt to go for night court. If there is court starting at 8 p.m. and ending at, maybe midnight. Why? There's no traffic, I'll get parking, things will be quieter, etc. My point is, there are all kinds of ideas about how to generally speed up cases. All right? It seems like it's being applied to just a few people, and they all tend to have a political nature. So I understand why Atacha is saying what he's saying. I just don't want a situation where somebody coming from outside and looking at it thinks that, oh, the whole place is on fire. I think it is for the judicial service to convince everybody else that we are not doing it for you alone or against you alone. But then here's another example, here's another example, here's another example. Show me those examples. Show me examples where the kind of speed with which these trials are proceeding is happening. Show me where it is happening to people who have a different political coloration. Show me where it is happening to people who have no political coloration. That is where Atachia's concerns are coming from. If Hanan was not a politician, if all those people under trial were not politicians or aligned with the MPP, will they have the same treatment? If they were NDC people, and there are NDC people over whom there are issues unresolved,
Godfrey
so
Dami
we
says,
need to just get that balance.
Says that the directive for the trial of our clients to take place in the legal vacation is unusual and unprecedented. Is that fact?
No. You see, in his, again, a person defending his freedom should be given very wide latitude. So if I'm where my brother Godfrey is, I'll say the same thing. But you ask the question, is that fact? Is it fact that this is the first time it's happening? Is it unprecedented? It hasn't happened before? Is it unusual? No.
Let me add, Atachia says, with respect, this directive to continue with the part head trial risk exposing your lordship. All of them are addressing their letters to the Chief Justice. Exposing your lordship to claims of selective justice. Numerous other cases of repute, both criminal and civil, have been placed at a standstill by the legal vacation and adjourned to October and November 2026 to afford both judges and lawyers rest during the vacation. And they say a few things. He also says, we are compelled to bring to your attention these unprecedented criminal justice delivery arrangements as we consider the judiciary as a last bastion of refuge in our constitutional democracy. They both say this is unprecedented.
It is not unprecedented. In this particular case, you can see a certain indecent haste. And when they rope in the judges, for me, I always say leave the judges alone. See, a judge is in charge, in control of his court or her court, but is not in charge or in control of the judicial service. They don't determine what cases are allotted to them, assigned to them, etc. And sometimes these schedules and things are not within their authority to determine. All right, so I will give them some slack. But yes, I think they also come under pressure.
You said the schedules are not within the judge's authority to determine.
No, I said they are in control of their courts.
Yes.
But it is not always that the cases that are assigned to them, and the scheduling of these cases, for instance, who is a vacation judge.
All right, I get that.
The Chief Justice and the judicial system.
But as for adjournments, they are in absolute
that is
control.
within the courts.
Right.
Adjournments, but which case she gets, okay, whether she'll be a vacation judge, whether she's being asked to, there are times when situations arise where the Chief Justice will say, look, do this, on a day-to-day basis, etc. But you want a situation where it's agnostic. It does not care who is in the matter. The justice delivery system looks at justice delivery and not the person involved. So, indeed, they are right to say the judges are exposed to some of the risks that they are mentioning, because the judges have been thrust into this situation. We all should be speaking to the broader judicial system. I think these things should be cast as lots. There are computer systems which assign, when it is said that it is not about the person.
Sorry to cut you here. So the legal vacation, as you have appreciated from the beginning, is a vacation for judges. Colonial relic. The judges used to come from London.
Yes.
And so they would take a break for the 2 months to go back, as it were, rest. If they have backlogs, they try and clear. Some of them have judgments to write. They have so many research work to do, so they'll do it within that period. Then they return refreshed. But we as lawyers, it doesn't make sense for me to say, I will take my leave from my law firm any time other than that period when the courts are on break. So it makes sense that lawyers also wait when the courts are going on vacation, and they also go on break. Locally, internationally, bar conferences, training, lawyer, I have signed up to a number of these things. They happen within this period. And the lawyers would have signed up before now.
Yes.
Some also, of course, it is for rest. So they know that there will be vacation judges. And when vacation judges are there, they hear their substantive cases. But they take on the cases of other judges and hear only the interlocutory processes like motions, basic applications. But they don't hear the substantive matter. So if you say the judge who is not on vacation but is working should not hear their substantive case, can you imagine what you're saying to them? Because in October, they will also go on leave. And when they take their leave while all other judges return, and the other judges also take on their cases, the other judges will also not hear the substantive cases for these judges who are working in the vacation. What that will mean is that these cases will be postponed until next year. So,
which is why I say we need to rethink the judicial system. And this is not a problem with lawyers or judges. Let's rethink. Look, what they did in the colonial times fits them. What fits us today? Okay, and honestly, I think we are doing too little of that. Okay, there are all kinds of little processes and things which just delay interlocutory adjournments and all kinds of things which we can do away with. All right? So what you are explaining to some people doesn't make sense. Hospitals can't shut down and say only few doctors should work. And everybody's job, engineers building can't take these kinds of leaps, but we do because we are able to. Please, I think what we are discussing now is a call for us to rethink this judicial system. What is bringing this up is accusation of selectivity. If we look at all of that, look, I would absolutely say so. If I can find other cases similar to Wontumi, similar to Hanan, similar to these political cases clearly, which are being treated this way, I can't find them.
Okay.
So clearly there is some selectivity and there's a bit of high-handedness in trying to railroad these ones and finish them quickly. And people will tell you that they know how it's going to end.
Yes, Prof, is democracy under siege? Even though the example Kofi gives about doctors not going on break like on a whole and mass. I've heard people raise that kind of example. I don't think it's a correct example because the hospital cannot endure that situation, but the courts can. Because as we sit now, in the lower courts are working. Okay, the district court, the circuit court, they are working. It is the superior courts, High Court, Court of Appeal, and Supreme Court. But even they, at Court of Appeal and Supreme Court, they may return if they find it necessary. But at the High Court, where the bulk of the judicial work goes on, there are a number of judges that are always designated as vacation judges. And they take care of cases from the other courts. So the cases from the other courts, the substantive trials are suspended, but the emergency things you need are taken care of. Right. Is democracy under siege?
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting question to ask, and the times at which it's being asked also quite interesting. And the persons involved in the engagements, the debate, the demonstrations also make it very interesting. I mean, I came here guided by the cardinal rule book of His Excellency the President and the Vice President that we are on a research agenda. So when we tend to delve into some of these discussions and some excavations of somewhat alleged dark history is being roped into this, it pushes us to sort of want to deviate from the research agenda that we are focused on delivering. I am not tempted to do so, but I'll still try to work within the corridors and confines of that cardinal principle of what? The research agenda, which is Ghana first, right? So now when we talk about democracy under siege, you ask a particular question in all the discussions that has happened. Again, at the risk of not deviating, fast-track high court courts were introduced in this country. Was democracy under siege? I'm just asking rhetorical questions, right? Persons of eminent standing were arrested in churches. Was democracy under siege? So these are fundamental and very important questions that I think we need to ask ourselves. A constituency that is meant to represent persons in parliament, by this I'm referring to SAL, was denied representation in Ghana's parliament. Not in the 18th century, not in the 19th century, but we are talking about the 21st century. Can this be described as democracy being under siege? Not long ago, few months ago, I wouldn't count it in years, 49 demonstrators were arrested when it came to demonstration against the rising cost of living. Was democracy under siege? So the list can go on and on and on and on and on. But if we try to do this, given the viewership we have and where the direction with which we are taking this country, it takes us back. Right? We're talking about special cases. Yes, of course. The National Service case is a special case. Buffer stock is a special case. Signals Bureau is a special case. So if we're talking about special cases and we're invoking special powers to get them done, how is that an infringement of the rights of a person? In any case, democracy does not only limit what a government or a state institution does, it limits also or extends to what the citizenry does. Should we be discouraging persons who are described as fugitive abroad not to come and face the law? If we do that, would democracy be under siege? These are all fundamental questions we should ask. But in any case, I sit back and I ask myself a fundamental question. How is the introduction of tribunal system a dent on democracy? Samson, I would need some education really on this, senior barrister, because look, if you have a tribunal on tax, right, it reduces issues of what? So maybe you go to GRA, you have your dispute with GRA over your tax liability, and you go to a tax tribunal. Does it not reduce the burden, right, of the judicial pressure we are talking about? You're a unionist, am I right? You go to an employment tribunal. Does that not also help in accelerating and also watering down the pressure we are talking about? So if we have tribunals in such sense, and we think that, oh, it is now time to bring up what happened in the PNDC, what happened in the judiciary. But even in the First Republic, when there was no tribunals, we have prevention detention. We had all of that coming in. But then, I wouldn't want to be anecdotal about this. I want to speak to the empirics. Let's look at the data, not even from the government side, but from international institutions that are seen as watchdogs of democracy. Where is our press freedom ranking today as we speak? Because that is part of the process of democracy. It is part of the democratic dispensation. Ghana is ranking 39th out of 180 countries and 4th in Africa. Is this a democracy that is under siege, or is this data reflective of a democracy under siege? We probably want to look at the Mo Ibrahim Index on governance and where we are. Are these empirics emanating from the government machinery? No. They are coming from watchdogs. Not local watchdogs, but even international watchdogs. Look, sometimes we look at all of these happening. I know, politics creep in, right? We talk about the invitations. There are persons. Ofosu Ampofo, who is a former party chairman and an elder of the party, my superior at the office, you had the number of times he visited the courts in Yoko. Was a fanfare made out of it? There were instances on a weekend, his personnel told me this, where the late Chairman Adekuka would have to hide him somewhere in an apartment just that he doesn't get picked up. That was a dispensation we lived in. The former governor, former deputy governor who is now governor, what did we not see? Or we are saying that we don't have blood running in these people, or when the goalposts shift, it has to be that. Chairman Wuntimi had the luxury of selecting his favorite sports cars and driving them to Yoko and the courts without any attacks whatsoever until a properly constituted court determined his fate. How is democracy under siege? When he was sent to prison the following day in this country, the leader of the opposition drove in a long convoy to visit him. That tells you the kind of democracy we are in. How is this reflective of democracy under siege? So these are the basic and fundamental questions I think that we need to ask ourselves. So we can create an office of special prosecutor and we can create special tribunals. How is special tribunal so inimical to our justice system? It's rather seen as an augmentation of the process to see how.
The question has been asked.
Yeah,
our courts already are inefficient.
Of course.
They need money. They need retooling. They need.
But Samson, do you want these courts to be burdened?
They don't have.
Do you want these?
They
courts?
don't have.
Yes.
And they are burdened with so many cases.
Okay.
You know, and they need. If you want more judges, appoint more judges. Why do you create another
what I'm saying,
system?
No, looking at the systems of tribunals, I explained earlier. You've got tax tribunals, you've got employment tribunals, etc., with special interest cases to look at that may not travel the length.
Cases that are already being taken care of by the system.
So, yeah, but if it does not complement, right, why do we have arbitration and mediation in legal practice? It is again to bring these burdens, despite the existence of all of these auxiliary institutions. So they are all to marry and push through
the suspicion
the
is
justice
that
system.
Because the tribunals will have one judge, one lawyer, as a judge, as a chairman, and then there will be two others who are appointed from the assemblies.
Yes.
They most likely, as the complaints were in the previous years when they existed, they most likely will be party people.
No.
Oral cases,
we haven't reached that.
And oral cases will be taking there.
No,
and
I don't. No. I don't think we've reached there. But in any case, looking at the magnitude of some of these oral cases, do you indeed think that they'll be tried at tribunals? I don't think so.
Until it happens.
Yes, until it happens. So it hasn't happened.
The tribunals don't wait.
No, I'm just saying.
Previously,
the
tribunals did.
No, but why
cases.
are we looking at what I'm coming
and
to?
in this one,
no, let me come.
The law that has been passed.
But why are we
actually allows for those cases to be done
I'm saying,
by the
why
tribunals?
are we looking at the lens of the tribunals from the past? That is why we are all having this conversation, to see how we can shape it. If you have any criticism of it, to say, okay, well, this is what it should be done right. Right, if you, per the example you gave, talking about, one judge sitting with two supporting auxiliary persons, it's the same criticism you probably give to a magistrate court in how they sit in certain jurisdictions, right? We are talking about, probably let's take England and Wales, for example, where we talk about, probably the oldest democracy. We're talking about legal vacations and what have you. It is just not a colonial relic. But certain colonial relics are good because it allows for rejuvenation. So if they're good, we must all adopt them. We just don't wishy-wash any colonial relic away. But in England, you still have divisions of legal terms, where you have the Easter term, you have the Hillary term, right, etc., that allows for the legal system to function within the confines of...
We have the Easter term.
Yes, that allows, to function. Right, so I don't think that these are things that we should, rake in, right, as a bastardization of the legal system.
Their concern is that...
Legitimate as they could be.
Their concern is that what we are used to, and I'm talking from experience
you're practicing,
of 16 years within the courts, what we are used to is that when judges are designated as vacation judges, often they indulge lawyers. We'll go to them and we will plead. Sometimes they will ask us, and sometimes the roster comes out very late, maybe a week to the vacation in July. That's end of July. Then the judge will announce to you that when you are going for an adjournment, the judge will announce to you that I'm a vacation judge. So if you want your matter to be heard, I'm available, we can go ahead. Then often the lawyers will say, we have already made our arrangements for the vacation, so we will not be able to attend. And the judge, they will plead. And the judge will say, okay, we adjourn it to the next time when we resume. They are saying they are being compelled in this circumstance. They don't have the option to get away. Some will suggest that what they should do is to appear before these judges and plead with them that we have this arrangement, so we can't be available. After all, these judges are not going to be sitting on just these cases. They are sitting on all their own substantive cases. But they feel compelled that they are not going to get breathing space in the vacation. Yes, it's normal.
And that's why all of these complementary efforts are being made. So my point is, could we put the bill down and say, look, XYZ in the bill, right, for the establishment or the implementation of tribunals is a defect. We can have a long conversation.
That one, it's right.
So all
that one you can't go about.
No, because it's over. Yeah, but it went through a stage.
The bill was passed.
Yes, it went through a stage that allowed.
They rescinded it.
Yes.
Took it back based on what have you.
So my point is, yes, so that's why I put it on the speciality of most of these by talking about tax, by talking about employment, etc., etc. If you look at it from this, that's beautiful. It happened. It's happening very well.
That what they are asking for is fair. They are saying that the president should not, assent to it.
Who?
That's what they are saying. The president should not assent to the bill because now it's left with the president to assent to it.
Yeah, but the bill has already gone through parliamentary processes.
Correct.
It's been approved. Yeah. So why should the president not assent?
You've seen that before?
Yeah, we've seen that before, but not in this particular instance. Right? Because we are all talking about... You listen to Justice Kolendi when he talked about even the Supreme Court cases, the piles of cases that...
Superior Court cases, yes. About 30,000.
Yes.
So equip them to hear them.
To hear them. So,
bring
equip them and complement them with institutions that can also help them function efficiently. Right? This is the intent of the law. Right? If we're making interpretations to it from what has happened in the past and the military regime and the likes of that, we are being unfair to a democratic process in and of itself. And that is not fair to a dispensation such as this.
Okay. Dennis, you just came in, but I'll let Dr. Otto wait, and then we'll hear from you. There are 24 courts that have been designated as vacation courts. As a lawyer, I received notice sometime in June from the Judicial Secretary that these courts have been designated as vacation courts. It was normal for me, and I knew that these courts, so designated, will sit in the vacation and they will hear their substantive cases. How did that also get into your demonstration as selective justice and seeking to railroad things and all?
I mean, Council, thank you and good morning to my seniors. I will get to that. I mean, first of all, I think I would congratulate the MPP and all the citizens who joined them on a demonstration. One of the most potent tools in any democracy is protest. I mean, sometimes when you are in government, and we've all been there, you find yourself in a bubble. If you don't take care, you will see things only as they appear to you, where you are. And protest sometimes pokes this bubble, busts it, and then you feel a certain new air, and you decide what to do. You see, it is always easy to justify these things when you are in government. Always easy. We've all done it before. We've all done it before. Always easy to justify these things. But one of the things we've all learnt over the period is that these strategies adopted by the government are never sustainable. They have never been sustainable. It's just a matter of time. And Dr. Khalid will change this narrative completely. The demonstration had several issues underpinning it. All the issues Dr. Khalid raised, I think they all come under just one aspect of the demonstration. I look at the bigger ones first. We now live in a country where a woman who is in Yeji, a corn seller, has phone, has data, and is on an open source platform called TikTok. She believes that she lives in a democracy. She can express her view. She doesn't have access to Newsfile. She doesn't have access to Asempa. She doesn't have access to Joy Prime. So in the morning, how she feels about the country she lives in, she wants to express herself. So she does it through TikTok. In the process, this woman is not so enlightened like Dr. Khalid and myself. So she started using words like, "Sa presidential staff, Dr. Khalid, obetrati biswa no kanse muhunkwa, why ni tise kunku." Nyanse bia ni nitrim, kasa by heart. This woman goes to sleep. 5 a.m. Her room is broken into by security services. She's put into an LX vehicle, drove on the road for 8 hours to Accra, sent to a court, and she's remanded for 2 weeks. Ghana Police Service releases a statement and says she was insulting Dr. Khalid. That, for me, is the biggest issue to look at. Forget about the political class. As for the political class, we have our own games that we play. Let's not use that to cloud the very important underlying issue with the democracy and that.
But you know that the example you just gave, the police will not arrest under that example. That the woman you spoke about only insulted Dr. Khalid by saying, Okanse Mhunu, Nititi se Konku. They will not arrest you on that. But if the person has said something about Dr. Khalid, that ono na wakoye yi wahana yachi no ono kra ono
Camilla,
onumwi
you know Camilla,
you know Camilla, then they will say that is false. And they arrest them.
Have you seen? At least I have seen at least 1 or 2 statements from the police where they said insult. Insult. It's in their statement. Insult.
Yeah, but in that insult, they were talking about how she claimed that the president and the first lady had done certain things, and those things like amounted to false publication.
You mean the 35 cows?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So Camilla's issues has insult and then has selective justice, which is all part of the demonstration. Because you see, the gentleman who actually accused the president and his government for 35 cows is still walking.
And said he's one of them.
And he said he is the one that actually did the sacrifice. Self-confession. He says, I did it on your behalf.
Selective.
And that you can ask the national chairman. He is my witness. Camilla insults the president, references the gentleman, and Camilla is in jail for a year. Yeah. If you don't think this is dangerous, then continue living in the bubble.
Do you know what? I'm going to give you the space to speak. But do you know that, like in defamation, if you do what we call republication, it is taken as a separate course of action. So I make a false claim. I'm the originator of the false claim. But you, who takes that claim, you don't verify it, and you also publish it. And in section 208, it is the same. If you make a publication, it includes a republication, and you don't verify the truth of it, you are equally liable. Just like the guy who was also arrested, who put up the president talking to the security chief when they got down from, they were by the helicopter, right?
Yes.
And then he mentioned the 150 million for the, is it sanitation situation?
No, he didn't say that in the video, please.
So even though he was not the first to publish it, he has been arrested. Because republication.
Of what?
Of what is false.
What is false? What false publication did he?
I suspect he published it and said that the president was saying that he was going to give, he needs that amount of money.
What?
For something else.
You are assuming now. He said that is the problem we have. You are assuming now. And that is the problem. Council, this is a major matter. It's a serious matter. It's not something that we should allow the people in government to water down with political class conversation. And that's why I want to push the political class. As far as you can do whatever you want to do with us, play with us anyhow it is. If we want to go back and forth and come with the example, we can always come with it. I don't care about those things. Because whatever it is that happened to Ofosu Ampopo, he's at his stand. He's also exerting his vengeance. Others will also. No, I'm just saying. But that is basically the point, the justification you are making.
No, what justification?
It's okay, you don't. It's okay. It's okay. I listen to you. So let's put that aside. But you see, all the assumptions you are making, that is where the danger is. That we live in a country where now the government wants to determine what they think we should say or what we shouldn't say. That is a problem. And the government is now assuming what they think we are saying. That is a problem. That is not free speech, Council. Free speech is unhindered. Free speech is without limitations. Free speech is clear. Free is free. You don't censor free speech.
Free speech has limitations.
No.
You said
Relax.
I think that one you slipped.
Relax. You see, there's a difference between free speech and if I threaten you, that's not free speech. It has a definition.
So that's the limitation.
It's a definition. That threat is not free speech.
All right.
I am threatening you. I am threatening you. That's a different subject matter. The last time I made the point about this whole insult thing, the number of people this government has arrested because of insult, you have no idea. We are the ones who provide them with support, so we have the list. See, most of the TikTokers issues, you haven't even heard about them. In fact, now, at the district level, the district police commanders have also made it an enterprise. And they are arresting people who are going for community information center engagement and community radios.
And finding them.
Now you speak, they pick you up from your community, they put you in police and they tell you that when say we are kokota, and it's become an enterprise because they are picking the vibe from the center. I am a Methodist. I have been a Sunday school teacher for a very long time. I abhor insults. I'm a pure thoroughbred Ethiopian boy. We don't insult. But insult is not a crime. Counsel, I can insult you all I want. At best, what you can do is in your personal capacity, go and sue me for defaming you.
I cannot sue you for insult.
I'm just saying,
insult is not defamation. If I say your head
is big and you think that I'm tainting your image.
Generally speaking, insult, vituperations are not defamation.
It's fact.
Yeah.
But right now in this country,
customary law.
Right now in this country, we have the police actually inserting insult as one of the reasons why they've arrested a citizen. I am not saying it too. The police have released official statement. You must be afraid, Dr. Khalid. You must be afraid. You must be worried. Because you see, the references you make from yesterday, what is happening now is an upgrade. And if it means that we are growing it, and eventually, if we don't work together to halt this, the next level may be crazier than this one. Because everybody is learning. And when I say the next level, it's not just MPPU. Even your own party, NDC, in the next government, you may not be a presidential staffer. You may be something else in the government or may not also be anything at all.
People are telling you that democracy is not under siege. Because in your term, worse things were done. And they give you the example that you did this demonstration peacefully and got to the Jubilee House. The Jubilee House was a no-go area during your 7 years.
Democracy has several tools.
8 years, yeah.
No, democracy has several tools. Okay, protest is one of them. Protest is one of them. And with the political science that we all learned, if you accept the principles and systems of governance of democracy, you don't do some and leave some. So you don't go arresting people in their bedrooms for insult and use the fact that you allow them to protest as an example of democracy thriving. You are a hypocrite if you do that.
But in your regime, those things also happened.
But they protested.
I remember the Kakamachos and all those things.
Yeah. So they protested. Did they keep quiet? They protested. They demonstrated. They complained. So what is he talking about?
And at your demonstrations, we are hearing people, even beyond your demonstration, say that you do me, I do you. You will do it back. So if you are saying it is wrong, why are you suggesting that you will do the same thing?
The interrogation is not allowing me to flow. So you hold the questions when I finish.
You have been speaking for a while, though.
No, you've been interrogating me. You hold the questions, let me finish. You see, I am not one that believes in do me, I do you. From the get-go, this whole thing we're experiencing, the thousands of people who joined us on the street, there are people who are regretting because they kept quiet when this thing started on 7 January. When these people started invading homes of their opponents, ransacking their homes, breaking their things. The governor, his house was ransacked, everything destroyed. At that time, most of the people on the street last 2 days were applauding them because it was the political class. Until they got emboldened. And now when they finished with all the political opponents and there was nobody else to go for in the political class, they brought it to the streets and brought it to the citizens. Most of the people you saw talking about Achichi Munchina, they were not referring to Chemaun to me. They were referring to the TikTokers, the Facebookers, the Twitter boys that you are arresting. They were not referring to Chemaun to me. So we need to understand the difference that the government has has now gone so low that they are harassing their own citizens. And we should not allow the government to use the political class to cover up what is happening. Council, what is happening is not about MPP. Forget about MPP. As for MPP, we all know that once we've lost power, they will come after us. It's okay. It's not what we've been through since 1992 to now. If 2000, we go after them. 2016, they'll come after you. It's okay. Forget about us. The citizens, the market women by the roadside. As we speak, there is a woman in jail for repeating what somebody has self-confessed on the president for 1 year. 1 year.
Alleged.
What I think the government can do is to rather activate state institutions like NCCE to begin to educate these people and tell them, listen, yes, there is free speech, but within the free speech, you can't say A, you can't say B, you can't say C, and begin to encourage them. You don't go rather weaponizing bails. You take there's a lawyer that I met about 4 or 5 days ago. He says he has a client with one of the security agencies. He's been in detention for 9 months, even though he's on bail. Do you know his bail conditions? He's been asked to bring 4 civil servants who earn not less than 30,000 cedis a month. He is with TUC. He should tell us how many civil servants in Ghana earn up to 30,000. The gentleman, because of this, is in jail. He's in detention for 9 months.
For 9 months, he should have gone to have the, bail conditions.
It's gone twice. This one is a revised. This one is a revised, improved bail condition.
No, even tagging it to civil servants who earn a particular amount. Some judges have said that is wrong. The judges should not be doing that.
The matter is
what if the person doesn't have any relation or friend or associate who is a civil servant?
You
have denied them bail.
The romantic relationship between the executive and the judiciary is what is engendering this. Because let me tell you something that you are missing.
And that's where the question is. When you bring in the executive and the judiciary, an independent body, where is that coming from?
Yes, you see, I'll tell you what. Today, some of the security agencies will tell you that you are better off with their conditions than that of the courts. Because for them, they can even waive some of the things for you so you can go home. Because if you force them to take you to court for a review, the judge tells you that, well, I've reduced it from 30 million to 15 million. That 15 million landed property. The landed property, the security agency tells you that, well, I have to write to Land Commission, Land Valuation Board for verification.
Which is normal.
That takes you 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So sometimes if you don't take care, even though the court has even granted you the bail, you'll be punished for about a month before you get out. Listen, there's a serious situation issue going on in this country. I had a cause to write to my Lord the Chief Justice.
My point is that what you are talking about is not new.
No. So you see, that is the problem. Then let's stop having the conversation and go home and wait for the future. That is the problem. It's not new. Did you keep quiet when the old was happening? So allow those who are also speaking now to speak. Why are you telling them that it's not new? When you came to tell the citizens that, hey, these people are tyrants, they are dictators, they are autocratic, vote against them. Vote for me. I am a Democrat. I will let you speak. I will let the country flow. They voted for you because you made them believe that the Nana Addo Akufo-Addo MPP government was a dictator. You come and you do worse. And when they are speaking, you tell them that, oh, but it is not new. So what should we do, council? We should go to sleep and let you put handcuffs on everybody as you please and not speak? Who says what we are saying, we expect that they will do something about it? We know this bubble. Everybody knows this bubble. This bubble never gets burst until you lose the next elections. It would get there. But it doesn't mean that we keep quiet. It doesn't mean that you should let the people, the people on the street, over 50,000. 50,000 people on the street. Let them speak as they want.
The demonstration, you recorded 50,000 people.
Yes.
It was massive, but 50,000 people.
It was. And if you want to understand the difference, check the last demonstration before this one. You will see the difference. And that is how government should measure what is going on.
How did you count 50,000?
Oh no, but we know the people that came. You know, they came from across the country. Some constituencies are bringing 5, 6 buses, 10 buses, 8 buses. Some days, so that's how you get to know. And so the 50,000 is what we can record. Those that you haven't counted are outside. It tells you that the people are getting tired. And did you see the women sitting by the roadside in their comments? The munching buying. Now even the Kumar people are even doing skits with it.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Like you can even be cooking pepper soup and the government will tell you that, Charlie, you have too much pepper.
We are told that there was this coalition of political parties and some civil society that joined you. Who are those?
Oh, the PMP and they were all there. They were all there. They all joined. And you see, I was even expecting some members of the NDC to join. Because you see, what is happening here? Even if you are in NDC, and I know people in the NDC who are worried about it. Like, why? What exactly are you fighting for? Because whatever it takes, you are not going to be in this thing forever. Like, you won't be there forever.
Okay, thank you.
See the way you are referencing.
I'm happy you are saying that.
You see the way you are referencing.
Your party people who are saying the tables will turn and they would, equalize. You don't subscribe to that, and you don't want that to happen. I take a quick break. When I return, my two other guests, Dr. Bokping is online. They will join us. Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform, and here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And so, this is rather interesting. I'm getting some of your messages, and some of you are raising that issue about the NPP not having that moral right and so on. But Kofi Bento gives you a caution that, they may have done some wrong. Once they admit their wrongs and they say we shouldn't proceed in that direction, we should listen to them. Right. Dr. Kwabena Yako Otu, Deputy Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, will now have a stake on whether or not democracy is under threat.
Okay, thank you, Samson, and good morning to viewers and fellow panelists. Ordinarily, I shouldn't have talked about this, but I just want to say two things. Encourage both the MPP and the NDC to seek accommodation, because he has tall list of examples of how his members were harassed by the state using the security agencies and the court system. Dennis also has similar examples. And then the question you ask yourself, where are the two parties taking the country? Can we go on this trajectory endlessly? You need to cease fire and seek accommodation with one another. Dennis talked about NCC being resourced. We also know that this country, the two parties, when they are in government, they don't fund NCC. So actually, they don't have any resources to do the kind of education they expect to do.
They start them
it's
all the
also
time.
incumbent on the political parties themselves to educate their members. I, from the TUC, we speak freely. We can criticize government and do all manner of things to government, but nobody arrests us.
Because there's also selective justice. They look at who they should go for.
We do it, but we also do it with a certain amount of decorum.
I agree.
A certain amount of decorum. So
you're part of the democratic participatory process.
Exactly. We do it with a certain amount of decorum. So that's the first point I want to make. The second point is on the tribunals. We held a press conference. And before the press conference, we sent a memo to the Constitutional Review Committee.
That's right.
And in that memo, we said that we noted in paragraph 14 of our memo that regional tribunals are no longer relevant. The TUC recommends that the entire article and other consequential references to regional tribunals must be expunged from the Constitution. And then the Constitution Review Committee actually agreed with us.
That's right.
And says that we should expunge it from the Constitution. Something, if you go back to the Akufo-Addo Committee report, they also recommended similar thing.
That's right.
Okay. So if you set up all these committees with other institutions like TUC...
In fact, the white paper of the Akufo-Addo Commission report, the government accepted the recommendation.
So we are at a loss. And in fact, we have gone into the details of the bill, and we are uncomfortable with many aspects of it. We have written to the president, urging him not to assent to the bill. And we will use this opportunity to still urge him. We are making an appeal to him not to assent.
But they are assuring that where the fears are coming from, it's the past, how they used to be. If you take the very first time they were introduced, 1979, through the AFRC era,
to 81,
they were characterized by severe public opacity, fear, and executive finality. The national attitude was one of helplessness against summary justice, as the operations of these bodies bypass all traditional safeguards of fair trial and standard evidentiary rules. And I'm quoting from Practice and Procedure in the Trial Courts and Tribunals of Ghana by Justice Stephen Alambrobe. You are being told that this is not the new thing. The new thing is a departure from the old. That was this bad, where they use cadres, in these courts to harass people.
Samson, I agree, but we cannot ignore history. And if you read the Fiajo Committee report itself, it says, and if you permit me to read, on paragraph 246, the Commission finds that the integration of regional tribunals into the mainstream court system has largely not been successful. The tribunals are buckled and suffer from stigmatization. So the Commission itself makes reference to the historical stigma attached to tribunals. It goes on, the lack of adequate and qualified personnel, trial proceedings sometimes being held in the absence of chairman of the tribunals, among other grave institutional deficit. The Commission is of the view that the notion that the tribunals do not administer credible justice, if left unchecked, would taint the image of the judiciary and frustrate the effort of the justice institution to gain and foster public confidence in the administration of justice. For anybody who is not a lawyer, who doesn't understand many of the English we speak, but has a history of tribunals and what they have done in the past, when it resurfaces, those people tremble. They are afraid of what this tribunal system can be used for. But my final point is that we are still appealing to the president not to assent.
Does this reintroduction of the tribunals, reintroduction so to speak, because the Constitution, the provision in the Constitution has not been, they have not been de-established as in the Constitution, except that we have simply not implemented the Constitution as far as tribunals are concerned over the last decade or so. We call it, obsolescence, avoidance. We have just decided to avoid doing what has to be done, as Professor Akufo-Addo and the rest of them have had to say about what has happened to the tribunals, a natural death. Does the bringing them back mean the democracy is under threat?
I wouldn't say so. That one I wouldn't say so. And in fact, given the historical stigma, bringing them back also is incumbent on government to seek broad consensus and accommodation on it, and in terms of how it should be done. For example, I'm not too comfortable when you say that the regional tribunals have concurrent jurisdiction with the High Court, and that whenever issue to be determined either by a High Court or a regional tribunal, the regional tribunal takes precedence over a High Court. I mean, if you had dialogue, all of these things would have come up, and all of us would have said that, okay, this is the best way to do it. It's not necessary to say that merely invoking the tribunals means that the judiciary or the democracy is under attack. Of course, there are tribunals in even advanced countries.
Yes.
Okay. It is about how we do it. Okay. But also address the historical stigma associated with it.
So
all my examples
about the tribunals.
You made a point that where there is a certain conflict, the tribunals will take precedence. It's not there. I haven't seen the new one. I saw the one they did, which they rescinded, but they rescinded it, went back, and then redid and passed it. I haven't seen that one, so I don't know if that is the situation. But for what the original one, if there was a situation, a conflict between whether the High Court should handle a case or the regional tribunal should handle it, that was to be left with the Chief Justice to determine. All right.
Yeah, I think that is what it is. But it also says that the regional tribunals will proceed. But we will have to check.
Okay. Let me go to Professor Bokwing now. Okay. Professor Bokwing, is the democracy under siege?
So much time.
No.
Is the democracy under siege from where you sit?
Good morning, Samson.
Good morning, my brother.
Senior colleagues and friends in the studio and people of Ghana. So Well, I wouldn't go on that path, but there could be several indicators that one can use to determine whether democracy is under siege. And of course, the one who set the question has also set the marking scheme. I'm talking about the MPP that is championing this now. But Samson, I've been in this country for a while now. In fact, since I started monitoring things in this country, maybe from 2001, thereabout, I was a student then, and then also 2009, 2016 election, 2017, and thereabouts. If we use this yardstick, then perhaps our democracy has been under siege all this while, and we have lived with it, probably. Let me put it that way. But we've had enough data. We've had, under the Fourth Republic, we've had the two main political parties, they come and go and all of that. The narrative, to some extent, Samson, seems to be the same when they are in opposition and seems to be the same when they are in government. Not long ago, I would say not long ago, from 2017 to 2024, end of 2024, if you examine content analysis of the Facebook postings and all that happened with NDC, you are likely to infer these themes across. I mean, in fact, even the setting up of the office of the special prosecutor, Samson, you recall the discussions that came from the NDC, how they viewed it and all of that. Then again, you can also look at the MPP when they were in opposition from 2009. In fact, President Mills, of blessed memory, Samson, you will recall that even key people within the NDC criticized President Mills for his soft approach to handling so-called political enemies or opponents. In this country, we saw that people felt that President Mills was too accommodating and all of that. I don't want to go into many of those details, but the point I want to make is, Samson, have we had enough time and enough data to begin to look at this critically going forward as part of reforms to make our democracy work for us? Samson, is there any truth in all of this? We can examine the data, the posture of the NDC in opposition, the posture of MPP in opposition, the posture of these two main political parties when they are in government also. Is it possible that we can go beyond I do you, you do me, and all of that, and begin to look at whether there's some element of truth in this? Are we at the stage where the judiciary probably is independent in theory and is open to manipulation by any of these two political parties? Are we there? Is there any truth in that? For me, I think that is what we should look at the discussion. I could be wrong though, but is there any truth? Is there any truth that we can leverage to reform, ask for serious reforms? Because we believe that this democracy has come to stay. We are thinking about reviewing the constitution and all of that. So can we continue like this? And I agree with Dr. Otu. Can we continue like this endlessly? So is there any truth? Is there any truth that any party in power is able to manipulate or get the security agencies to do what they want? Is there any truth? If we do baseline survey, are we likely to get some evidence or broad base of this? The international community may be rating our democracy as, yes, checking the box. Maybe we've had a free and fair election. Largely, there's change in power and all of that. But the details, the quality of it, are we losing? Are we missing out? If we continue on this path, are we going to get to some dangerous points and all of that. And I think those are the things that I would say we should take a critical look. If the apprehension of a political party in opposition and the fact that the party in power is capable of deploying the security or one way or the other, the judiciary for some end game, and all of that for me is concerning. I have a lot of respect for the judiciary and the security agencies and all of that. So we shouldn't lose that. We shouldn't allow this creeping thing, right, to fester and become an entrenched kind of practice where a party just can't wait to be in power. And one major reason why they will do everything possible to secure power is how they can go after their opponents rather than for development, rather than and all of that. That is a bit
the politicians, Prof, the politicians, what do they know? The MPP that now distracts the judiciary only recently relied on it, while the NDC that now embraces and defends the judiciary only a while ago, was condemning it as unanimous FC and all of that. They rejected almost everything that came from the judiciary unless it was in their favor. And now too, the NPP is doing the same thing, rejecting every case that goes against them, but they celebrate when it goes in their favor.
Yeah, Samson, that's a good intervention to make. But Samson, is also obvious when you look at cluster of cases, okay, ones that are listed, for instance, as was discussed by, I agree to some extent with Akufo-Addo, if we look at the sample size of the cases involved and all of that. And I do not think, I could be wrong, but Samson, I do not think that these two main political parties would fake a position depending on where they find themselves. Perhaps there's some element of truth in what they are capable of doing when they are in power, for which reason they see certain outcomes in certain way. If that is not the case, then we need to find a solution to it, because to some extent, it's gaining attraction. If you look at the number of people who joined the demonstration, if you look at, and is it also the case of a political campaign strategy? When you are in opposition, you want to do this consistently and all of that, just to make the government look some way and all of that. But I think that we should just be mindful that through these actions, we may be undermining critical institutions that underpin our democracy and how we see judges in this country and all of that. You will notice even, it was discussed a couple of weeks ago about the former CEO of Maslock, right?
Yeah.
The appeal, when the appeal was made, of course, I know RTI has been filed about when exactly it was made and all of that. And the perception that, yes, when you are in government, you can do anything you want to do. And even when we are in government, the incentive to prosecute cases of one of their own. So sometimes when we say we are fighting democracy, the energy is intensified when it's not one of us.
Right.
But is the other one and all of that. I think those things for me are a bit concerning for me under democracy. Should we begin to look at what kind of reforms we need to put in place? And I agree with Akufo-Addo. What kind of reforms do we need to put in place? How do we shield the judiciary from this perceived interference, and how the party in power can use, and all of that? We look at how judges are appointed onto the Supreme Court and all of that. That is not the only thing. Something. If you see within the security agencies, civil service, public sector today, how people get appointment to some of these key institutions, and within the broader public sector, civil servants, judiciary, and the rest of them, even certain state institutions and the rest of them, you will see political undertones in many of this. Should we build a country like this? Can we build a country like this for all of us to be happy of and all of that? And I think we are allowing politics to infiltrate too much into many of these things, and it tends to cloud. Even a good judgment can be viewed differently and all of that. And remember, Samson, we are not as learned as you people, okay? So we are sitting somewhere, and the way people also interpret this, depending on the political narrative and all of that, I believe that it matters in terms of our democracy and all of that, so that we don't paint the judiciary in a certain way, security agencies in a certain way. Of course, there are some evidence, there are some development that when you analyze over time, you begin to see a certain emerging issues or pattern that gives a cause of worry that I believe as a country we should be able to discuss objectively and see how we can shield the judiciary, the security. Maybe for all you know, they deserve to do their work objectively and independently.
All right.
But they also come under this whole political capture and all of that we see happening across.
Thank you.
These days, when there's a change in government, you see a certain level of apprehension, even within certain state institutions, of people being transferred, managers, even these days, even cleaners are concerned because they could easily be changed and all of that. Can we continue on this path? Is there a future in this? What kind of reforms should we put in place? And I think that is what, we've had enough data, Samson. We've seen how the NDC behaves when they are in opposition. We've seen how the MPP behaves when they are in opposition, and also when they are in power. And we begin to look at these things critically, okay, and all of that. And if you see what Miracles also mentioned, that is going beyond the political class, elite, and all of that. And of course, you can see that if you look at the entire value chain, you see the politics all the way through to TikTok, Facebook, comments that people make and all of that, and certainly more or less in federals of their political party rather than national development.
All right, thank you very much.
This will be my preliminary submission on this. Thank you.
Thank you. The tribunals are supposed to have concurrent original jurisdiction with the High Court as it is. So I went back to the bill to look at that to be sure that we are accurate in that reference. Kofi Bentil had asked a question. I wanted to ask you about that. I want us to take a break, but I wanted to ask you about that before we go to the next issue. I want to ask you a question.
Yes, go ahead.
If you want to avoid the perception of selective justice,
yeah.
He's pointing to you that the former TOR managing director, Asante Kweku Beko, who now has been found of wrongdoing in the U.S.
in a different jurisdiction.
Yes. Why is he in trouble? He's in trouble for facilitating bribes for the $42 million, energy, installation purchase around the time. And
in his time as MD of TOR, or
you let me
yeah,
now you have heard Dr. Akufo-Addo Donko's response.
Yeah.
Okay, he's already gone on social media because people are accusing him.
Yeah.
Like they normally would do, as you saw in the Airbus case, they mention official one.
Yeah, red herrings around.
Not red herrings.
Yeah.
They don't mention the exact person, but they have given you the period, okay, when the bribes were given. And Dr. Akufo-Addo Donko has responded that he didn't take any 1 million. The people, including parliamentarians who went to Turkey to supervise whatever it was and were paid bribes, that is normal in the process that they went. Whether they were paid bribes or not, he doesn't know about that. And fingers are being pointed. Within the period, we know who was in charge of the ministry. He was. Within the period, they have pointed to who received bribes. PURC, we know who was there at the time. They've mentioned other institutions.
Advisor?
Yeah, a number of them. We know the people who were there. So they are asking. And the public is asking these questions. As Manasseh even posted. It says a facilitator has been, found guilty of facilitating the bribes. How about the receivers? What are we doing about them? We know that the OSP helped the the process with the U.S. people.
Yeah.
They are saying the Attorney General and Yoko, who are chasing people, they should go and chase Akufo-Addo and the rest of them, and the people that we knew around the time who were in charge of all these institutions, who have been fingered as receivers of the bribe. They should go and chase them.
Now, Samson, will be unfair if we start to mention names like this and putting it out there, just as it happened in the Airbus scandal. Look, you look at these issues. No, when I say unfair, because he said, look,
they gave, don't mind me.
They gave particular
It's interesting coming from you that it's unfair throwing names.
Oh.
It's okay, continue.
Met a Sunday school teacher who is endorsing insults on social media, etc. is still intervening in what I'm trying to say. Okay, right, but do pray very well this Sunday when you go, because, you know, as you move on to this, U.S., as we know, their anti-corruption laws are very stringent. Right, and they bite really hard in the evidence that we've seen just in the recent ruling that has come out. Well, a ruling has come out. It mentions officials XYZ that has, without impugning guilty status on anyone or being specific. We are only inferring.
They were specific.
No, we are only inferring. They say, okay, X person worked under this.
Inferring the names.
The names.
And they were specific on the crimes.
Yeah, we are not discussing
bribes
crimes.
Were paid.
But I'm saying we are not discussing crimes. I'm discussing how we could be fair to the names we are inferring to. That's all I'm saying.
You say they were not specific. Please go ahead.
When I say they were not specifics, we are discussing the names, and that's what he's saying. That Yoko. So on what basis is Yoko going to go after the inference that has been made? Because we are talking about democracy being under siege. We are talking about the rule of law. We are talking about due diligence and the right to be done. So if probably a docket has been lodged, or maybe an investigation has been opened by Yoko, we don't expect Yoko, right, to come out to give us a full-fledged detail of what investigations, or the AG's department, or the Office of the Special Prosecutor. But we've seen that, look, most of these cases, they snowball, right? And they are, state institutions, and there are strategies to activate, especially when they become cross-border in nature, just as we've seen in this. So for us to be conclusive to start, when was the judgment out? It's been up to a week. So what do we expect Yoko to do? To release a jet, fly in and say we are picking this person, XYZ, or we are inviting...
Sorry, because I brought it up. I think you are trivializing it.
No, I'm not trivializing the issue. No, let me learn. When you get your chance...
Start.
No, when you get your chance, how do you expect them to start?
Start by starting. And yes,
no, that reveals your intent. It's fair enough.
Issue a statement.
Yeah, so when you issue a statement, on what basis? Let them gather their evidence. Why are you, forcing state institutions to think your mind and act your way?
Because they owe us information.
Yes, if they owe us information, let them do the right thing.
Exactly my point.
Yes.
So what are you talking about?
Yeah. And I wish you held these views of pushing all
I have held them for 34 years.
Consistent way. But to sit down and say, they must do X, Y, Z.
I have held these views bipartisan for 34 years.
To do what?
You don't know. Our institutions owe us information on what they are doing in our name. You have a situation like this. People have been adjudicated to have done certain things. They didn't mention names, but they gave you indications. That's what investigations are there for. Samson's question is, are you going to do anything? What are you doing?
Of course,
and you
investigations.
What can they do?
Of course, investigations need to be launched.
You know about the AXA Energy thing,
yes,
right?
I know about it.
Between 2014, 2015, 2016, and specifically 2015, when we are talking about the bribes that were paid.
Yeah.
And they refer to Ghana Official 1, Ghana Official 2. They are talking about PURC.
Yeah.
They are talking about Gridco.
Yes.
Okay, beginning from the ministry.
So do we
look, and we know those who were in charge of these institutions
if you want to say
time.
that, look, if we want to say out of rapid response, right, or to give some response, say, okay, can these institutions come out with a holding statement to say we are initiating based on this that has. But for all you know, we are yet to even have official correspondence. We are just inferring from a judgment that has emanated from a cross-border court. So I'm not saying anyone is justified whatsoever, but can due diligence be followed? Why the haste in saying Yoko invite XYZ because a particular inference has been made?
I know. Would you have been saying it this way if it
We're talking about the rule of law.
If it concerned MPP members?
Yes, I would. I would.
If it concerned the MPP regime,
I would.
Would have been saying it this way
consistently.
You would not have said that the law enforcement should go after those people quickly.
No. I wouldn't have said Ken should stay in the US and not come and face the law. I wouldn't have said so. I would have been very consistent, and that is what consistency is.
Okay. You also wanted to make a quick point. We need to take
because we can't keep saying fugitives should stay out and not come and face the law, and at the same time pressurizing state institutions to do what we wish.
We don't expect you to listen. It's fine. We know the bubble. It's fine. It's okay. Council, you know, there was a point that Dr. Khalid made about the tribunals and said, how is it putting democracy under threat? See, when tribunals are mentioned in this country, and lawyer Samson, Anyenini, you know, it sends shivers across the country. There are still scars that people have to show for what tribunals did to their families, their homes, and their loved ones in this country. We cannot have conversations about tribunals in Ghana under certificates of agencies. We cannot have conversations about tribunals by trivializing them. This is how the current tribunal threatens our democracy. The democracy we have today and enjoy has a history, has a background. And the critical thing here is that people moved away from the tribunals, the kangaroo courts as they were described then, and decided to hide their pain after the national reconciliation work done by President Akufo and the MPP. And so when people see that tribunals are rearing its head again, they have every right to fear and see it as a risk. Think about this.
All right.
You are saying that, and I conclude here, you are saying that the district tribunal would have a chairman and 2 members. These 2 members are going to be appointed in consultation with the district assembly. The chairman is going to be appointed
in a time when we're talking about the election of MMDC. So you can see a compliment.
Stop it.
I'm just trying to help.
There is no. We are not talking about election of MMDC. We are not talking about it. What you guys are recommending is no election.
Take a break.
Yeah, but he's the one interjecting me. So maybe this is something the public should know.
Yeah.
The tribunals that are being brought to bear, the president is the one going to appoint somebody to chair, with 2 members who are going to be appointed in consultation with the regional minister and the district chief executive. These 3 people are the ones who are going to sit and adjudicate on your matter. I bring it to rest.
That, however, will not be new as far as the tribunal system is concerned.
That's why we are afraid. Because we know how the old one was.
And as far as the strictures of the Constitution.
We know how the old one was.
The strictures of the Constitution, as far as how they are supposed to be constituted, is concerned. And the Chief Justice also has a role to play in that.
He doesn't know anybody in the Capital North.
So you see, when guests make certain points, and I share some of the facts this way. Some of you say, why is he defending? I'm not defending. Do you want me not to talk about the facts? When they are misleading you with the facts, I shouldn't say what the facts are. So that's my job, and that's the way I do it. But would you say that the Attorney General, the OSP or Yoko should zoom in on the Asante Bekun case?
I'm sure they have. I'll be surprised if they haven't.
So
I'm sure they have.
The US actually acknowledged the Attorney General, Office of the Attorney General, and the Office of Special Prosecutor for what they say was significant assistance in the prosecution.
No, but it doesn't end there. That is in the prosecution of Bekun. We are discussing the names, and the people that are specifically in the report with figures.
Yes,
that is what we are referring to.
We said that should be done.
No, but I think that
I'm just saying that maybe a holding statement to probably put all these fears.
Once again,
that's what Kofi is saying. That's what Kofi is saying.
Once again, Khalid, it's so serious, including the potential involvement of somebody associated with the president's brother. You know. We don't know which of his brothers. I'm not going to suggest that here. When it came to Airbus, we knew which of the brothers that came up. And OSP went to, London to interview him and so on. So, don't you think that, I was asking Dennis, shouldn't that be followed? Because as we know, those who assisted, the Attorney General's office and the OSP will have the names of the persons that the US officials are not naming. But it is only the facilitator of the bribes who is in trouble now, but those who receive the bribes, $1 million, the whatever amounts elsewhere and so on, over the $42 million project.
It's even in their interest. It's even in their interest. Yesterday I saw, in fact, Anyenini made a very, very profound post on Facebook.
That's what the Kwabena Donko went to respond.
And when you read Kwabena Donko's response, it is in his interest for the agencies in Ghana to also take this investigative report and conclude and complete it. Because what has been established by the U.S. court is that the bribes were paid.
Correct.
That has been established. If the bribes were paid, they were recipients. Now, the report mentions then some of the positions. It mentions the Minister for Power and other positions. Now, the Minister for Power says, well, my name is mentioned, but I didn't receive anything. It is even in his interest, in the interest of his deputies, in the interest of the MPs who traveled to Turkey, in the interest of the board members at PULC at the time. All the institutions and names that have been mentioned, it is in their interest to even encourage the agencies in Ghana to also take that report and also follow through.
How about the MPs who also went there and allegedly received the bribes?
That's what I'm saying, that is in their interest.
$5,000.
I'm sure the list will be there.
And this could be bipartisan, because maybe it's a committee from Parliament.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's something we all are calling for, right?
No, we are not calling for. You didn't call for it.
I told you.
You are not coming to the table. Relax.
No, I've been on the table. I called for a holding statement. No.
You were even disputing Kofi-Bento.
No. What I was telling him was that we should look at how these institutions function, not under...
That is rhetoric. We are talking about practicality.
What practicality?
Can I?
So the practicality is if there can be an holding presser to say, okay, well, XYZ, we've received this information, we're looking into it, and then... Because you can't have proper state institutions engage in this. But why are you not even commending the AG? Why are you not commending the AG?
Do you know there are speculations?
Yeah?
Do you know there are speculations?
Yes.
That this reshuffle thing that was released yesterday...
I knew it was going to come.
was intended to douse this news, so that it doesn't get front page treatment.
One of the cases, don't relax.
No, but he's just told me about the reshuffle.
I was speaking.
So I'm responding to that.
Okay, you have your turn.
You see the president.
No, you don't do that. You don't do that.
He told me.
You don't do that.
Let me.
No, don't do that.
Come on.
You are hijacking my time, please. Don't do that. Don't do that. Hold your horses.
Let him talk in 1 minute. I come to you for another minute.
Hold your horses.
1 minute. I'm holding you.
I have no problem. You see, in fact, the conversation on social media even now is that they seem to believe, after reading a report, that Dumso was even staged, so that some people in government could benefit.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at it's a lot of posts around it.
Don't
these are citizens speaking. Somebody has
we shouldn't elevate that.
Yeah, don't elevate.
Why not?
Don't allow this.
Cannot be staged.
Why relax? Why do you think that your view should be elevated?
I'm not saying it's my view.
Citizen who is also speaking cannot have his view.
So if you can bring millions of citizens'
view better information.
Which better information?
You are referring to social media.
Yes.
You are referring to social media that this is it.
Doc, yes.
Why don't you post on social media?
Thank you, Doc, to answer many.
So that person is saying that.
Thank you.
Why you didn't let me speak for my minute?
Samson, can we give
you didn't let me speak for my minute.
Some respect?
You want respect when you took my minute. What are you talking about?
Okay, finish.
Because I've sat down to listen to you.
Finish, Dennis.
You don't let me speak.
Dennis, finish.
Listen, a citizen who has equal rights as you, simply because you join you doesn't mean you hold a bigger view than him, is saying that we are paying expensive electricity tariffs and Dumso levy because this government and its appointees in the past collected bribes from IPPs, inflated the cost of power plants approved between 2014 and 2016. That is the person's view. I am saying that all these things can be brought to rest if our agencies in Ghana also take up this matter and deal with it. So that Mr. Kwabena Donko, for instance, a very renowned person, can have his peace of mind. What exactly are you fighting?
The power plants that you renegotiated.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Doc.
What exactly are you fighting?
I'm not fighting anything.
Yes, Doc. Yeah.
Right? State agencies must do the right thing. He came out on social media, so his social media post is not sacrosanct. It's not a view for you to carry and say that by the fact that he's come out of social media to say XYZ, he's right. Dr. Donko responded.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, but other views that you think are not in the interest of that should be held supreme on this discussion and put under the truths of citizens. Is that what he's saying? So what I'm invariably saying in all of these discussions is that, yes, state agencies must act. The AG was commended in this process. Why are we, gleaning over it or sweeping that under
the AG and the OSP?
And the OSP. So we have state institutions.
So they have the list. They have the names.
No, all what I'm saying is that let's not use our whims and caprices or our wishes, right, reflect to stampede legitimate state institutions that may take processes, right, to initiate.
Right. Thank you. Kofi, you have been quiet for a long time.
I've been quiet.
Yeah. Hold on. And the
cherry picking is not helping.
The comments.
So now you are controlling me on air.
Thank you. It's only fair. It's only fair to do this, to read Dr. Donko's reaction to the comment that was made that Dennis refers to. One Ajua Enima made a comment and put Dr. Kwabena Donko's picture up and said, "This is Dr. Kwabena Donko, the Minister of Power in 2015, who was named in the U.S. Department of Justice evidence against Asante Beko, the man convicted of foreign bribery and money laundering." So was he named? It was his ministry. He was the one in charge at the time. Dr. Donko resigned from office after failing to end Dumso, having previously promised to resign if he could not resolve the crisis by the end of 2015. What is quite surprising, however, is that according to the U.S. Department of Justice, he allegedly received $1 million in connection with the very power crisis he was unable to resolve. So he couldn't end Dumso, but apparently he left office with $1 million richer. Okay, he left office $1 million richer from it. Politics in Ghana. Then Dr. Kwabena Donko decided to reply to Ajua and said, "Ajua, to start with, there was no bidding for any official or minister to be bribed to win a bid. Secondly, I never dealt with the said individual." That's Asante Beko. He was not even the known agent or local partner of the AXA Energy or whatever in Ghana. Thirdly, sending an inspection team to go and inspect the equipment before shipping is routine in the industry. And I never went to Turkey for any negotiation. Their representatives negotiated with the government negotiating team at the time, made up of representatives of the Ministry of Power, ECG, PURC, Attorney General, Gridco, among others. The tariff they negotiated at the time was the cheapest of all the emergency power plants and cheaper than some of the existing thermal plants, and so I had no reason not to be satisfied with the work the negotiating team and my officials did. No payment was made to me or received in my name. How did the said individual suddenly, after NDC lost power, become the managing director of TOR? So this is what happened. After NDC lost power, he became the managing director of TOR. Yes, Kofi.
Right. Myself and my colleagues at Citizen Ghana Movement, we organized Dumso Must Stop. I called Yvonne Nelson and said, join us because of the tweet she had done. You know why we did that? Because at the time we had information that a lot of people were enriching themselves from the pain of Ghanaians.
Oh, wow. That's what me say that.
All right. That is when I coined the phrase predatory elite. That in this country, every problem is made into an opportunity for procurement, for people to steal money, and they don't solve the problem. And in doing so, subsequently, that was proven because you saw all the contracts, take or pay, whatever, that were later renegotiated. And all the kinds of things that happened, people made millions of dollars. You know what we said about Ameri and all, even Ameri, it came. Some we didn't see anything, all right? Why am I saying what I'm saying? I'm saying what I'm saying because we sat in this country, we had leaders, predatory elite, when people were dying. If Nelson's mother was going blind. And we know all the stories. And they were making money on the back of people suffering. And that is what got us to do Dumso Must Stop. After that, some things happened. But these facts were there. Don't you feel ashamed that you live in a country where these things have happened and another country takes it up? We didn't do anything about it.
Because the guy is a dual citizen. He's also American. And in America, the foreign corrupt practices act catches fussy. If you go out of the US and go and act corruptly, they will take you on.
And it's very draconian.
Thank you for that information. America did not suffer Dumso. America did not have the problems that we had. The bribes were not paid in America. The crimes were committed in Ghana. But we sat here and did nothing about it, even though we saw, you remember this GSPC or something, we paid millions, that mess of energy contracts. We didn't do anything. It's been over 10 years. Okay, now they've gone and they've fingered the person, investigated and concluded and jailed their citizens.
We assisted them to do it.
We are still sitting here. Yes, we assisted them to do it. But what are we doing? We who suffered it, we who had citizens dying, we whose economies ground to a halt, we sat and watched politicians make money off our backs as people died, and somebody else has jailed that citizen. We haven't done anything about it. Today, Doc here is telling us that, oh, maybe they should issue a statement. Look, if we were a self-respecting country, by now, after helping them, clearly they would have had the information. We would have known that one, they were helping them, and two, after that, we'll pick up the information and we'll do this. Nothing stops Yoko tomorrow. Nothing stops OSP tomorrow. Nothing stops the Attorney General tomorrow. And I challenge them to do so, to tell us what you did and what you are going to do with this information. Okay?
They must have the list of the individuals.
Absolutely. They were part of all of this.
Right. So they should pursue them immediately.
They should absolutely pursue them. And that's the point we are making. Why must this be an issue for somebody?
Do you remember how the Airbus ended? This is the same thing. They are talking about this guy and email trails, how the monies were paid and all of these things. And the receivers are free. But the one who facilitated it is going to jail.
That's the purpose of investigations. Go and check the budget of the OSP. They were complaining about it in Parliament that it is equal or even more than AG. Go and check the budget of the AG. Go and check the budget of Yoko. All right? They are going after Dennis Miracles and co. with wild things. Manasseh Azure alone is doing more, in my view, than all of them. Anas Aremeya and Anas alone is doing more. If you lift it, we will collapse all of them and let Manasseh and Anas do the work. The point I'm making is it's painful that you live in a country, and this is not like there are some victimless crimes. Okay? But people died. That's why I brought in the evanescent anger.
Right.
What moved her was that she saw her mother going blind. So please, we should not be having arguments about some of these.
A couple of messages.
That's what investigations
And as you know, the Statistical Service says bribe has become normal in this country. Do you think you are hearing something new? Let me tell you. In 2019, Afrobarometer survey said 8 out of 10 people in Ghana knew this situation, that bribery had become normalized. But guess what? They were afraid of reporting for reprisals. So we deal with that issue. And of course, the TUC boss is here. We'll find out why their people are so much involved in the bribery, even though the police are topping the charts. A number of messages here. Henry says that, were we not in Ghana when the then sitting president proclaimed that Jachi Kwesing will be jailed, and then Attorney General wanted a daily sitting in his case? Was democracy under siege? Then MPP should give us a break. Well, the tribunals too, that's one aspect of them. They are going to do daily court sittings. Our democracy is funny sometimes. The opposition is complaining of selective justice. My question is, all the people who were arrested and prosecuted during Kufuor's 8 years and Nanado's 8 years, how many of them were MPP members? Does it mean none of them did anything? Couldn't that also be selective? This is Prof in Tema. Hello, he says, my name is Samuel. Please, Miracles should go and listen to the audio again. The so-called pastor did not mention in his statement that President Mahama sanctioned him to slaughter a cow, but the lady mentioned President Mahama. That is the difference. Okay, free speech is a fundamental right, but it comes with responsibility. You are absolutely correct. Ignorance of the law is never an excuse, and careless or unguarded speech can have serious consequences. If someone creates content that defames or abuses another, justice can and should be sought. Yeah, he say he doesn't disagree with you on that. If you defame, the person who is defamed should go to court. They shouldn't call the police to arrest people. That's the point. Okay, should be sought. As a society, we must be mindful of our words, exercise restraint, and remain responsible in how we express ourselves. Absolutely. Guarding our speech is not about silencing freedom. It is about protecting dignity, preventing harm, and ensuring accountability. The last C, Mabel Awuku in Latabi Okoshi, Musa Abattoir says, the MPP has no moral authority to demonstrate over democracy under attack. 4 years of no MP for SAL, no military invasion in parliament, arrest over alleged hate speech, and EC announced 6 different results. What is more undemocratic than these? Cecil Kwabna, Samson, Ghana has gone beyond this style of politics of paying party members to insult and threaten individuals on social media to make a statement. Ghanaians can easily see through such shenanigans, and it makes the orchestrators look puerile. #Newsfile. Emmanuel J. Queen says, what's the relevance of a reset when references to past ills of the SWL government are consistently cited as defense to current injustices? Yeah, I don't understand that too. But the ones who are demonstrating and say we will also come and do the same or will do worse. Was I scammed as a floating voter and an ordinary citizen? Sad. #Newsfile. And Gasma says, please, ask the MPP and Dennis Miracle whether they think they are more Ghanaian than individuals who do not belong to their party. Imagine this. Go after NDC faithful and leave our own. We are undeserving of such treatment, but you do. Absolute preposterous. All right, thanks for all your messages. We'll take a quick break, and I return to this subject because we are talking about bribery and corruption. This is real, which has been caught. The US have caught people. And Ghana must now take an action, as my guests have said. Take a quick break and return to the Statistical Services survey that says that all of you, I don't like the all of you, but because sometimes just a handful of us are doing the right thing. So we shouldn't be saying all of you. We'll be right back.
For any business, what you want is fair prices. What you want is a bribe-free environment, right? Because you want more business, you want more people to patronize your product. So anything that would exclude somebody from patronizing your product is a no-no. That's for a business. Secondly, when investors are coming to invest in a country, they ask a couple of questions. Some of the questions they ask relate to our governance. This country, is it a country where corruption is the order of the day? Is it a country where there is bribery, etc.? So once investors know that these, incidences are high, the likelihood that they pull back is very high. But when you have data that shows that you are seeing improvements, for example, the data that we have shows that if you take bribery incidents between 2024 and 2025, we are seeing improvements coming down. We are seeing improvement in voice. We are seeing improvement in other direction. That's positive for investors, and that is likely to attract investors to the country to do more business. Once investors come to do more business, all other things being equal, we are talking about more jobs, we are talking about more GDP, we are talking about more taxes.
Right, so government statistician, they've been doing a great job, and now they are telling us this is happening. Afelmoni, the former president of the GJA, says that I think we should take a hard look at the salaries of public servants. And then people are asking the question, salaries. Even Article 71, people are taking bribes. The people, some of them, they retire on their salaries. So they retire on their salaries. They retire. They are sitting at home. Every month they are paid the same money they would have been paid if they are working. And yet, some of them take bribes. How much they are paid?
Yeah,
Vitus Azim, anti-corruption campaigner, says we have to start dealing with the one who gives and the one who receives. Well, that's the law anyway. So what is happening? Police service, MTTD especially, they top the chart. Police general duties, they continue to top the chart. They are second. The Ghana Ports and Harbors, Traffic Management Authority, all of them have been fingered. Yes. Who do I start with? Professor Bokpin.
Yes, Samson. Thank you very much. Let me start off this way. Mr. Kofi Benson said something about politicians taking advantage. So we have enough data to support that, and I'm sure you are aware already. Samson, in this country, politicians love crisis, and they monetize it to their benefits. There is enough data. If you check Ghana's debt unsustainability, you can link it also to crisis periods in this country. I'll give you an example. And it's interesting, Ghana's doomsday has resurfaced with this issue. If you look at the fiscal deficit that Ghana recorded between 2012, 2013, 2014, it was this unsustainable fiscal deficit that led us to that particular IMF program that happened right after. The call was made on April 6, 2014. The program kicked in on April 10, 2015. You can trace it to the effect of that crisis that peaked essentially between 2012 and 2015. Ghana never recovered. It took us to the IMF. In fact, that IMF program could not even restore debt sustainability. Ghana lost our prestigious position as a moderate risk debt country in 2014. It was in 2014 we were classified as high risk of debt distress. And the NPP government made it worse by the end of 2021 through to 2022, and the way which eventually have resulted in debt restructuring and all of that. So you can see what that crisis did for us. The results, it took us to the IMF. Then look at COVID, how we monetize COVID to the selfish advantage of some politicians in this country. The fiscal deficit we recorded during COVID period, which was also an election year, Ghana never fully recovered from that. And it took us to the recent IMF program that we concluded just a couple of weeks ago. This is Ghana, how politicians take advantage of crisis. Okay, procurement breaches and all of that. So I don't know, I'm not too sure whether we will actually go far as a country on this, but there's a certain weighting of trust in public institutions, right? State institutions and how they fight corruption, all of that. And I believe that the judiciary, the security will work to correct this going forward. But back to the substantive issue. Look, whether we like it or not, this has become part of our lifestyle now, Samson. I don't want to look at it from the angle that some people are paid less, because those who are paying the bribe are not paid more either. Okay? Those who offer the bribe, their salary level is not substantially different from those who are taking it and all of that. So we should look at it comprehensively, that this has become part of our lifestyle today and all of that, and perhaps demanding it or giving it doesn't really even offend our conscience. Let me put it that way, if you look at how widespread it is and all of that. Sometimes in the literature we say that corruption scares investors. Something is not entirely true. It scares certain types of investors. When a country is also corrupt, it has a way of encouraging certain kind of investors who are more predictive and understand how the game is played. They are the kind of investors that you attract in your country because they can pay their way through. Sometimes they can even tell you, nobody can do anything to us. We have the police in our pockets. I mean, and all of that. We know all of that in this country.
Thank you. Dr. Alhassan Idrisu, they certainly are doing a great job. But after they tell us that bribery has surged in public offices, over 1,000 K payments have hit 9.1%, that nearly 7 in 10 Ghanaians, public officials demanded bribes from nearly 7 in 10 Ghanaians in the late 2025. When they tell us all of this, and then what?
The information is useful just to know that we still have the problem. I wish we could do more to get rid of it. But first thing is to acknowledge it. Look, I have had at least 2 occasions where I refused to. And I suffered greatly for it. But I was like, I'm more comfortable going through that. Then I have had at least 2 friends who told me point blank that one said, he's saying, unless you put money to it, it won't work. I'm saying this because you have a situation where it's not like people want to pay bribes, but they come to a conclusion that unless you do that, you're not going to go for it. Now, the second person told me point blank, look, when I go to certain places, my way is smooth because I've paid all of them. And I'm saying this because if you're in business, if you're a lawyer, if you have to deal with some of the systems that we deal with, you come, to terms with this fact that many times people want to tell you that, please, stop wasting my time trying to do the right thing. Okay? Pay your way through it. There are rumors, I say so, rumors, that even state institutions that want bills, laws passed in parliament have to facilitate it.
That has always been there, but what have we done about it?
Exactly my point.
Because the speaker now has admitted it before.
So see, we have generated a culture of bribery. And it's not about people's salary. It's not about people's salary. It's a culture of bribery. You know what takes it away? Harsh enforcement, 1. 2, and that's the easier one, depersonalization of government services. It's not long English for nothing. It starts with Ghana card. It starts with identifying who is a citizen or not, properly categorized. If you need a driver's license, it should be possible to go on a website, fill in the information, put whatever you need to put there, and for them to deal with you and mail it to you. I have seen that happen elsewhere. It wasn't rocket science. If you need a passport, if you have a Ghana card, it should be possible to sort this. We can go on and on, but the point I want to make is this. There is something called smart formalization. And yes, it is Dr. Bawumia who has used that term recently in a speech. And I agree with him, not because I support him, but this is why I support him. Look, it's not politics. If we depersonalize, you see, the thing that creates a bribery opportunity is when you are forced to go before the person. And more or less, they also behave as if they are doing you a favor. But if you have to give me a driver's license, and I can go on a website and put my information there, give you my other bona fides, you can check and find out it's me, and everything check. I don't have to come to you.
That's right.
And in many places that happens, and I'm telling you, today with Ghana Card, we have the opportunity to do that. So please, we need to depersonalize. Do you know the problem? The people who have to depersonalize, the people who have to use these systems, are the people making money off the bribery, so they sabotage it. Okay? So please, let us all agree as people that we will force them to do the right thing. I use a term, the inmates have taken over the asylum. Okay? The wrong people are insisting that we do things their way. That is what is causing the bribery. Please, most government services can be delivered without personal interaction. If we go through the smart formalization process using things like Ghana Card, that is the way to do it, right, and kill this bribery thing, or at least reduce it significantly.
Prof, the survey found that although most bribe payments remain relatively small, larger payments became more common during the second half of 2025. While 84.4% of all bribe payments were 500 Ghana cedis or less, the share of bribe payments exceeding 1,000 cedis increased from 6.6% in the first half of the year to 9.1% in the second half. This means that nearly 1 in every 11 bribe payments involved amounts above 1,000 cedis.
That's a very interesting study, and it's not new to us. We've had these perceptions, and I think long before this, and I'm really glad that we have a state establishment such as the Statistical Service. Many thanks to my very good friend, Dr. Alassane, for doing the fantastic job. But it's also instructive to note that I think the baseline survey for this started in 2014. So to allow for annualization.
You mean 2024?
Sorry, 2024. Yeah, thank you. I beg your pardon. So 2024, and to allow for analyzation of this, but it also gives a representation where what I did, like, I think I was looking at it and something struck me. I was like, let me look at it by regional basis. So I looked at 2024 and 2025. So I looked at 2024 for my home region, Upper West. And then I looked at 2025 and I saw an increase. And I was like, what's really happening in the Upper West region that that has had an increase from what it is, but you know, it was lower in the rest of the region.
Yeah, it's surprising how they they find out early in the year 2025 it was not that much, but later in the year 2025 then it increased.
It increased. So again, I mean, from we can only, as I said, from an anecdotal
economic pressures.
Sorry?
No. Economic pressures.
It can also, to an extent, you know, when you have change of governments, right, and there are people think that there's new initiative to chase, there's new investment to chase, etc., it sometimes could fuel these kind of perceptions as well, because people are trying to offer because they say it's the norm or was the norm.
I'm talking about the people demanding
it. Yes, and also people taking up new roles because there may be shake-ups whatsoever. We also think that, okay, the person who sat at this seat...
Give me 30 seconds, because on this... See, I beg you, we have to say this.
Yeah.
During Dampare's time, this thing went down drastically because there was leadership. He would deal with you if ever it came up. And that transition made a difference.
How are we making this comparison?
No, I'm making a comparison because I think...
hold on. We're speaking
let me finish.
I was speaking and you ceded my time to say during
IGP time. We heard about the police at the beginning.
Yeah.
We heard reports of the police
if you want to use this time
actually refusing
we are speaking to a statistical service data. Not an anecdotal inference of an existing IGP.
Quite good with that. If you compare them with West Africa. And please, it's not a character issue. I tell people that I knew IGP Yohunu before I knew Dampare, and Yohunu is a very fine. When we did Doom Summer Stop, it is he who stood with us. All right? But I'm making a general point. I said leadership is important. That is agnostic of whoever is in the question.
So what I am saying...
Please, I beg you. No, I'm saying that...
See, he begs for a time. You allow him, so let him finish.
I allow him, but I want him to be scientific. No, but be scientific in what we're doing.
I said, which is...
No, you just went that, during IGP's Dampare time, this thing went lower. By what standard? No, by what standard? We're speaking to a statistical service data.
Oh my God.
So what data are you speaking to?
Go and look at the statistical service data at the time.
So share with us.
Tackling me.
Share with us.
I should go and put... Let me finish.
Share with us. Because we're speaking to a discerning public.
Today,
the personalization of these things.
There is sufficient technology even within the police system for even fines to be paid by Momo and for you. People have received messages from the police for crossing traffic light. I'm simply making the point that when we talk to people, we should also talk to leaders and say, please do this thing, put people on their toes, and people will react. Okay, people will conform.
Okay. All right, so let me carry on. Because my point is the personalization and elevation of people without bringing the context of the data to which we are speaking to is also dangerous for, you know, practices within public
space. Don't be distracted from your presentation.
Okay, so moving on. Yeah, because that's something I really think we shouldn't be doing. Yeah, so but moving on, you look at the human interface, right, with state agencies, where you realize, and if you look at the same report, I'm speaking to the data and what we're speaking to, the MTTD, you still realize that there's no automation system or whatever to do. So what it means is that there's human interface. It topped, right? But these days, I mean, when was that? Few weeks ago, passports, right? You could apply on a 24-hour service, take the box, pay, well, you have it. That's it. Ghana cards is happening on a premium
that they were going to do long time ago.
The system was there, it's there. Yes. They started using it.
So now, also with some of these systems that come into, you know, for to allow to mitigate some of these things, there are very people within the institutions who will fight against it.
Leadership.
Or they stall it. You get it? So yes, let's see how we can create a system that has less human interaction. Right? If you have a fine and you have no one to speak to, and you know that you don't pay this fine within 10 weeks to go up, you are forced to pay. Right? In other jurisdictions where you get a ticket, a parking ticket, you know if you pay instantly, you even get a discount. Right? You rush to pay it. Rather, if you leave it, then it builds up or racks up. So interest.
So if we ask the Minister of Interior to implement it.
Implement which?
The spot fines. The spot fines.
Of course, that is what we are. That's where the conversation.
You haven't said it. Say it.
Oh, come on, Kofi. You are not telling me to say what I have to say.
Say it. You are going around.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
Right. You are here to pontificate about your good friend. I'm saying I won't accept that. This is where it's coming. When it comes to Baumia and Dampare, when it comes to Baumia and Dampare, Kofi B is on another level.
Leadership.
Yeah. So we have to see how we can create that kind of a system, right, where we don't have a lot of human interaction or human interface. In that case, you would have that. So let's see how we can build this. More of this research emanating from our state institutions. Again, I commend the Statistical Service for this. Dr. Larson is doing a fantastic job. We should continue for us to see how these things go. And when I looked at the data, another interesting perspective was the 100 Ghana CD bracket and how huge it was. So now I was wondering and asking the question.
You mean the 1,000 Ghana cedis?
Yeah, you know, there was a one from 100 to 500 and then to 1,000.
Right.
And you look at, okay, so what was this being paid to facilitate? It will be interesting to know some of these things. So is it at the BEFs and DEFs? Is it at, state insurance companies? Is it at, pensions, et cetera, et cetera? Because, look, states are losing resources to corruption. That's what we don't know. And it's being skewed and also deepening the divide, the inequality divide. So any attempt at trying to eliminate most of this and to see how we can all come in and build a national system that would allow seamlessness. Because I've always talked about what I call the basic, the minimum decency in social issues such as education, healthcare, etc. And it is these things that we'll be able to, collect effectively as a state in curbing corruption and payments of bribes that would lead us
to.
We have to.
They say that the increase in bribery was driven largely by demands from public officials. These are the people that you are responsible for. Yep. Public officials, rather than voluntary offers by citizens. We don't do the thank you too much these days. That's what they are saying. Requests by officials for extra payments jumped from 50.9% in the first half of 2025 to 69.4% in the second half.
Okay.
At least wait for us, you do the service and we say thank you. Now you won't do that. You demand it up front.
Samson.
Your people.
I know. Samson, if there's a teacher who stays at Dansuman and teaches somewhere around Cantonment, and he's paid 3,000 Ghana cedis and has 2 kids, should that teacher survive Accra?
He changed his job.
No, you less, yeah.
Proceed.
But they survive.
Yeah.
And the mere fact that they survive tells you something happens. You get the point. So you cannot take the low pay out of the equation, even though it cannot explain everything. And if you permit me, in 2003, the World Bank published a report about pay. And it's for Africa, but there's a Ghana component. But let me read their introduction. The argument that pay is crucial to sustaining motivation, performance, and integrity of public servants has been widely accepted and documented. The World Bank survey focusing on African countries has observed that as government compensation falls, that is pay, both in absolute and relative terms, and relative to alternative remunerating activities, civil servants adjust to the new situation. Turnover rates and absenteeism increase. Moonlighting and daylighting become more frequent. So people are at work, but they are not doing the work, daylighting. And more blatant. It has also been argued that petty corruption rises, including the sale of government services that are not meant for sale. Samson, the point we are making is that if you pay, Kofi, I get your point that the people should change jobs.
No, he's drawing my attention to something. That generally, people in public service are better paid than those in private service.
At every level.
So why this,
So actually,
why is it that it is in the public service that they are always demanding pay something? But in the private service, they hardly can have opportunity to make those demands.
So the 2 things happen: the poor pay and the opportunity component.
Poor pay can be.
You understand? But Samson, journalists in this country and private media houses also take bribes to publish or not to publish reports. You cannot take out the private sector I mean, all the banks that collapsed in this country, they were private banks, so they were not public sector agencies. And we knew what went on. The point I'm making is that we should address the low pay syndrome in this country. And once we do that, we should also enforce standards and compliance. Okay. But we should also reduce the opportunities for people to interface and demand. I agree. But even as we do that, I've heard about this thing, remove the interactions and all of that, go digital and all of that. That also has implications for employment and unemployment. You understand? Because you live in a country where there are just,
a union man speaking,
of course, where there are just so many people looking for a job.
Yeah.
And you say that, cut them out.
Digitalization creates more jobs than it takes. That's a fact.
Okay, maybe you are right. But the point I'm making is that you cannot take low pay out of it. We are receiving slave wages.
Okay.
People are being paid a minimum wage of less than 600 Ghana cedis. And I'm saying that they survive. That survival in itself...
Less than 600 in the public service?
Yes. Okay, in the public service, the least pay on the single spine, which Ghana government pays people, is less than 800 Ghana cedis. I'm saying that the minimum wage, which in the private sector, the Chinese pay and all of that, is about 539.
That's the private sector.
The point
600, 800. How is anybody supposed to survive on that? And you see that those people they have to commute.
It's not even adequate for their transport.
Yeah.
The fact that those people survive is a reflection of what is captured in the report. What are you to do about the report or the information?
Most important. Do that in a minute. Let me go to Dennis.
So my point is that, first of all, address the low pay. But I'm also not averse to the fact that there are also highly paid institutions like the Audit Service, which is listed, where they also take bribes. Yeah. And that is the fact that there are opportunities for people to do that, and there are no consequences for that.
Well, then if somebody tells me,
somebody
tells me, let's stop focusing on these small bribes, because these little things they take, how much does it accumulate to? If we take the AXA energy thing that we just spoke about, if we just spoke about, we look at just that one, millions of dollars. That's where we should be talking, not these little things that people take to survive. What do you say?
Actually, the accumulation of those little ones far outweigh the big ones.
Those ones grind this.
But those micro ones, you know the way the FMCGs, one yogurt, this, if you put it together, it's a lot of money. That's a bigger economy than the highlighted big ones.
What shall we do? This is not new.
We've had this conversation before. I remember I told you that in Ghana, we spend all our time looking at the political class.
And leave everybody.
Because we do it to ourselves. We have highlighted ourselves.
Dennis always refers.
And then it allows the bigger picture to go away. Do you know those who own the biggest houses and homes at East Legon and Cantonment? They are civil servants. They are not.
I'm not sure about that.
Oh,
no, that's a fact.
I'm not sure about that.
See, for the first time, you see TUC man saying that he's also defending something. He's okay. You hold your peace. Hold your peace. It's okay. You know why I'm saying that? There is no MP trip or minister's trip, as you are trying to reference it in Turkey or any other thing, that doesn't have a technical man on that trip.
Facilitated.
There is no committee meeting that doesn't have a technical man on it. There is no minister that signs a check. There is no minister that signs a check. But of course, the bigger problem is our society as to whether we really, as a country, we really abhor bribery. That is the question we should be asking ourselves. And then if we don't, we cut the pretense. Because this morning in the chief's palace, a group of persons who have gone to the chief with their concerns, and the chairman is saying, because we have a society where we have proverbs like, you see what I mean? In fact, you know, these days, I never even knew that apparently when you go to the chief, you don't go with like one bottle of shit, you must go double, everything is double. I didn't know that. So,
and these days there must be cash as well.
Yes. So we need to ask ourselves those fundamental questions as to whether truly, bribery, is this something we abhor?
And the politicians are taking very good care of some of the chiefs.
No, and the politicians are taking the flanks for everything. Or it is actually a system that honestly speaking, has become part of us. Because it's difficult for a Ghanaian to walk to, let's say, passport office, ask for help, get help from somebody, and he leaves just like that.
That's engineer.
He feels that once the guy gave me a spot to park in the midst of all this chaos, what I'm living, is it bribery? Is it a gift? No, I'm just making a point. But that is where it starts from. Yeah. Because once you begin to see it as, oh, it's just gift, it becomes institutionalized in a way that those who don't give gets to stay longer. Mm-hmm. The second problem, which I agree with Dr. Otu, is how we've even structured our public service. Like, sometimes I wonder, first of all, why is a policeman whose duty post is at Laboni living at Dansoman? Why? You know you can't pay him well. You can pay him only 3,500, and yet his transportation from his home to his duty post in a month is 5,000. Why is it like that? Why is it that we have shortage of teachers in areas where we say teachers don't want to go, but we have overpopulation of teachers in certain areas? Council, the reason is simple. In my hometown, Latte, why don't you just ask how many teachers are needed to fill up all the classrooms in Latte? When you finish, there is Latte Presi Secondary Technical School. Students who are in that school now graduated and want to now go to tertiary. Why don't you advertise in Latte and say that, okay, we want 50 young people who have completed secondary school this year, who are interested in going to nursing training college and teacher training colleges. Then when you come back, you are posted to the classrooms in Latte and the nursing colleges in Latte. After the school, they won't come. No, wait. No. It's another subject matter. But the point is that there are people in Latte who would want to be in classrooms in Latte. There are people in Latte who would want to be policemen in Latte. But if you go and post me and put me at Techiman, and I have to every day spend some amount of money to move from my house to somewhere which is more expensive than how much I earn, and then you come and tell me that I'm taking bribes, Council, it's difficult for you to be able to remove that system. Right.
So we'll return to the ECG and what is supposed to happen to it, and what the IMF is also saying about the energy situation, the $3.5 billion accumulated arrears. How exactly are we going to surmount that? Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's almost so they forget even when we come back. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. My guests doing the discussion this morning, Dr. Kwabena Nyarko-Otu, Deputy Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, Godfrey A. Bokpin, Professor of Finance and Economist, University of Ghana, Dennis Miracles Abuaji is Director of Communications, Baumia Campaign, Sharif Mahmoud Khalid is Associate Professor of Accounting and Finance and Economic Advisor to the Vice President. Kofi Bentel is lawyer and Senior Vice President, Imani Africa. And the show is brought to you by the candid sponsorship of Bank of Africa, Strong as a group and close as a partner, Ashesi University, educating ethical and entrepreneurial leaders for Africa. My Way Insurance, dial *165# on MTN to join My Way today. Ashesi, this week I read something from Ashesi, the law program they are doing, and the colossus that they are taking into their law faculty. Charlie, I wish. Yeah, I wish. Charlie, the place will be good, eh? Isankoma and Co. are going to be teaching, joining Mami, Mensa Bonsu. People whose thinking of the law is so good. Syntax Tanks, it's strong, it's tough. Safari Valley Eco Park, bringing you closer to nature. Waylead, your trusted home builder. Bethel Dental, the smile starts here. And Kel Charcoal Toothpaste, happy smile. You wanted to make a comment on the Bearco's situation, the former TOR MD situation, before we go to the ECG matter. Yes.
Yeah, I told you that, we're asking whether the government is doing something. I just saw the Deputy Attorney General has put up a kind of comment on his social to indicate that they've been engaging the the U.S. authorities in the process.
Just well, the Attorney General, as we have seen, they have commended the Attorney General and the Office of Special Prosecutor for what you call significant assistance.
Yes.
So, what is he saying exactly?
Oh, no, I just wanted to.
Is he telling us that?
I didn't want to, rule everyone here.
Yeah, but I'm saying that they should have the names, and as Kofi Bentel and others have said, all of you have said, they should be pursuing the receivers if the facilitator is now caged.
Yeah, and to be clear, the work on this case started long before. I can say in the previous government there were earnest, efforts. All right. SEC charged them around April 2020. There was a criminal indictment around 2020, August, working with the U.S. authorities. I have this on authority. Okay, so I think there's been a bipartisan effort, all right, working with the U.S. authorities, okay, from the previous government. So what you see is a culmination. But like I said, it started from when we had Dumso, and we're trying to look for a solution to Dumso. The key issue is that, look, if the U.S. authorities have gone so far, our authorities must not be seen at all to be, pussyfooting on this. They should take it on, finish this, and the final leg is here in Ghana. Let's see that action happen. And then let's deal with the petty bribes that people have.
Okay. So Swamsai actually says that the Honorable Attorney General is working with his United States counterpart to bring to book persons who are implicated in the bribery scheme related to the 2014-2017 power plant development contract between a Turkish energy company and the government. Okay, so AXA is still here in Ghana, right?
Yes.
Interesting.
And their contract was reduced.
This follows Asante Kweku Beko's conviction by a United States federal jury in Brooklyn, New York, on charges of conspiracy to violate the United States Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and other related laws. Okay, thank you for that. But maybe we should be told in much detail how exactly this is being done. Who are you following up on? The specific people. From where we sit, it's not difficult to tell who they are, who received the bribes. So let's be quick with this. Because the Deputy AG has actually announced that in the new legal term, we are going to see more oral cases, plenty of them. Maybe they should add this to, so that the MPP will not be talking about selective justice anymore. All right. So, ECG, what is happening? Let's listen to these voices.
Ghana cannot solve a debt and arrears crisis by creating new hidden revenue losses. The questions we are asking the government, and he has to answer, is this. We therefore put the following questions to the government. First, which specific margins, levies or taxes are being reduced to finance the 2 cedi diesel relief? And what is the total revenue loss? Second, has this been provided for in the 2026 budget? And what expenditure will be cut to offset it? Thirdly, what mechanism will ensure transport fares and prices of essential goods actually reflect the relief? 4, will the 1 cedi per litre levy remain at its full rate during the relief period? And will costs previously transferred to consumers be refunded? On June 3rd, 2025, at 10 minutes past 11 at night, the government used a certificate of urgency to pass the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Bill 2025, imposing an additional 1 cedi on every litre of petroleum product. Our members of parliament opposed it and walked out of the chamber. The Minister of Finance assured Ghanaians that a strong cedi will neutralize the impact, so that consumers will not pay extra at the pump. He promised that the projected 5.7 billion cedis in annual proceeds will retire energy sector debt and help end the cycle of power outages. That levy took effect on 16 July 2025, and it remains in force today. So consider the plain arithmetic. A A consumer who has paid 1 cedi extra on every litre of petrol and diesel for more than a year now receives at best 2 cedi back on diesel for a single month and nothing at all on petrol. The 2 cedi reduction is not generosity. It is a partial temporary return to money already taken from consumers at midnight, while the levy continues to run.
And so for the two others on the international market, that's price of finished products and the price of crude. Obviously, we do not have any control. But when it comes to the exchange rates, that is what we manage here to be able to support the people of Ghana. Can you imagine if prices or if the exchange rate was around 17 Ghana cedis as this government inherited powers compared to what we are seeing today? And so one, the economy is doing well. It is false if the economy is not doing well. The indicators are there for all to see. Dr. Baumia said that when in doubt, check the exchange rates. And the exchange rate is evidence for all of us to see. For the finished products, like I mentioned, we have less control. The government is intervening with the margins and levies to be able to give us some respite. His Excellency the President directed the ministers for energy as well as Minister for Finance to monitor. And so at every given time, if that is the ideal intervention, I'm sure that government will not hesitate to exercise that.
All right, so I'm being bombarded with messages confirming what Kofi Bentel was bringing to our attention, that the commendation by the U.S. authorities is to the former Attorney General, because they did that work and not the current Attorney General. But the question I'm asking is, that office is a continuum, it's government. So why will anybody want to take any praise for it? And Justice Sai's comment is being criticized in a manner to say that he's saying that to suggest that they have done something when they didn't do anything. It is the former Attorney General. It's an office. Yes. That's it. They must work. Yes. So please.
So all that needs to be done is for them to continue.
Yeah. Right.
That's all.
Right. So on the power issue, you just heard Richmond Roxon, who is his lawyer, who is a PRO for the Energy Ministry. And then earlier you heard George Kwame Abuaje, who is the ranking member of the Energy Committee in Parliament with the NPP. So I'll start with Dr. Otu on this subject.
Okay.
So, $3.5 billion US, the accumulated arrears. How is ECG going to overcome this? And is the attempt to bring in a private, entity not the way to go?
You see, in this country, whenever we begin or we try to privatize, the first thing we do is to throw out figures to bastardize that state institutions to a point where everybody now agrees that the only way out is privatization. Okay. In the 2026 budget, we were told that in the last 1.5 years, ECG's revenues have gone up by nearly 90%. Mm-hmm. Okay. We were told that, in fact, since November last year, ECG has been, in fact, the country, the energy sector in general, has been up to date on payment to nearly all the IPPs except car power. And there's a special reason why.
You're right about that, yeah.
Yeah, car power, yeah. So in actual fact, the IMF data itself also says that even we are no longer accumulating new arrears. We are rather paying off some of the arrears. So the energy sector has challenges, but it is not bleeding the way they want us to believe. Okay. The new management that is in place is doing its best PRC is actually implementing the quarterly adjustment tariffs to make sure that tariffs are aligned with cost of service. Okay. Now, all these things are being done, and there's a clear path that something new is happening. Okay. But Samson, there are people that are so much intent on privatizing ECG. One of them is the World Bank and the IMF. So you see, for example, the report your team shared with me from the World Bank, downgrading the energy sector thing. It's all settings to make sure that...
Reality or settings?
The settings. You see, one of the things they said in that report was something about cook stove, is the stove, clean energy thing, yeah. And in that report, they say that they have a target to distribute about 470,000 and that the Ghana government has now been able to do only 38,000. Okay. How was the 38,000 done? It was through government support to the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company to do the manufacturing itself. I'll come back to that point, but I want to go through the three things they said. The second was for Gridco to do what they call a merit order dispatch, to hire a consultant, which they have not been able to do that merit order dispatch. And the third thing they said in that thing was that the ECG was supposed to procure about 1 million meters, which has also not been done. And in the report, the Joy News report stated that you have a situation where the World Bank report was so replete with accusations of the Ministry of Finance failing to give approvals and commitment authorization. And in fact, reading that report makes me think that this commitment authorization done by the Minister for Finance is a masterstroke. It's one of the most important things that have happened to this economy in the last 1.5 years. The World Bank has a loan of 250 million they want Ghana government to take so that we will do a clean cook stove. And once you take that money, you have to do international competitive bidding. And so you have a foreign investor bringing some imported stove. The Ghana government says that I have provided some support to the Ghana Cylinder Company. They are retooling. It will take time for them to manufacture locally and be able to provide jobs, but also provide, do the manufacture of the stove. They have money and a loan for Gridco to pay a consultant so that they can do what they call security-based merit order system. Samson, what is a merit order? That you have an energy sector with excess generation capacity, okay, with different plants, with different tariff schedule. So you dispatch the one that has a least cost in terms of fuel consumption. Do you need a consultant to tell them which one has the least cost and which one has to be dispatched first? No. Okay. ECG is already doing know your customer, is deploying meters. In fact, ECG is procuring meters domestically. Okay. Giving domestic manufacturers the opportunity to also expand and provide jobs to their people, to our people. Okay. Some of them assemble meters. Some of them actually do manufacturing of meters. If you go for World Bank money, you then have to do internationally competitive bidding. Some consultants and other companies will then import the meters into the country. Samson, this is a country that has just gone through a painful debt restructuring exercise. An exercise that affected even pension funds. And you see, even though we derive maximum benefit immediately from that exercise, the can was just put down the lane. In 2027, 2028, a lot of debt will mature for the ministry to pick up. And then all you think about is that you have $250 million they have to take a loan to be able to procure. So because of all of this...
This is what this is about.
That is all settings.
But immediately this government came in. This is not new. They have been telling us that this must happen because there's a problem with ECG.
The government has been telling, but I can also confidently say to a large extent, government itself is not too keen on this. It has become an IMF World Bank conditionality. And they will do everything to bastardize ECG and the energy sector to make sure that that privatization occurs. In fact, Samson, the 1 million meters that the ECG is supposed to procure, it is actually to make sure to enhance the boost and to the image, to rehabilitate the image of ECG so that they become good candidates for privatization.
Okay. Professor Bokwin, the Public Utilities Workers Union, they issued a statement earlier once they got to become aware that, you know, there has been the appointment of a transactions advisor. And they, as far as they are concerned, they propose the following practical and workable solutions to improve the performance of ECG and NEDCO as public utilities. 1, eliminate political interference in management structures and procurement processes. 2, appoint qualified technical board members and managing directors who are bound by clearly defined performance targets. 3, enforce transparency and accountability across the entire energy supply value chain. And 4, implement a comprehensive reform strategy focused on strengthening operational efficiency, financial viability, and long-term sustainability while keeping ownership and control in public hands. They say that government proceeding to appoint a transactions advisor and set the privatization timelines in the budget statement without acknowledging or considering their proposed alternative solution in the position paper was a breach of faith and a unilateral process that they are against. They also complain of operational and structural root causes which must be acknowledged. They say ECG and NEDCO are hindered by non-privatization issues that need addressing directly, including political interference in the management and procurement, non-technical board appointments, uncoordinated self-help electrification program activities, foreign exchange losses, reclassification of bulk customers, and a lack of transparency and accountability across the energy value chain. So they say that based on the historical outcomes in Ghana and Africa, transferring public utilities to private investors leads to increased costs for customers or consumers, reduced access to essential services, worsened operational inefficiencies, and threats to energy security, employment, and labor rights. They don't also want us to hand over control of ownership of a strategic national asset to private entities, which compromises national sovereignty. What do you say, Professor Bokwin?
Samson, interesting. We have discussed this before on your program.
Many times.
Yes. Let me say this, that the reforms under the IMF supported program came from Ghana government. Is Ghana government program being supported by the IMF? Of course, we know that the IMF makes a strong input, the World Bank and all of them. The issues that have been identified as the root causes have been with us for years or decades, even before this IMF-supported program. I don't know to what extent the unions, TUC is also here, what have they done? What kind of progress have we seen? Why am I saying this? I'm not taking on TUC and the labor unions and the rest of them, but the recent IMF-supported program, the energy sector risk was a big issue. And it is still a big issue. The data they are referring to here, what needs to be paid, the projections, these are not cooked data to bastardize ECG. No, not at all. What we should rather be seeing now as the effect of the IMF-supported program is that there's a lot of transparency today in terms of even the extent of the losses going forward and the progress that we have made. Today, cash water flow mechanism is working to some extent. You can credit that to the IMF program because we know what was happening with the cash water flow mechanism before. Samson, let me put it this way. If you look at the fiscal space that the energy sector alone takes, the extra budgetary allocation that we have to make to cover the energy sector shortfall, Samson, exceeds the combined budgetary allocation to the Ministry of Health, Food and Agriculture, Education. If you look at it, okay, so the issue is that are we, the proposal that they are making that look at political interference and all of that, are we able to implement this on our own? We have not. Over the decades, we have not. And then again, there's no way we can reduce the level of losses from generation, transmission to distribution without a certain level of investment. Do we want that to come from the states and still be able to allocate optimally to other development sectors of the economy? Those are the issues. The proposal that we are making, how are we going to close the investment gap that will come with the necessary efficiency? We know that in the last 4 or 5 years, you know that even there has been increased allocation from the Ministry of Finance. Has it come along with the necessary efficiency, okay, and all of that? So, and then again, I think there's something that maybe I feel government hasn't done quite well, and that what is this? What is the form of this private sector participation that they intend to do? Have they communicated this to the people of Ghana clearly to understand what because there are various forms of private sector participation. Which form are they going for? I see the discussion as letting go ECG. There can be another form of privatization where ECG becomes a holding company, right? And then in terms of distribution, we can zone this, and then private sector can take the power from ECG. We know the cost, we know the arrangement, distribute that, that's the collection, and then they pay ECG, and then ECG more or less all the heavy liftings and
this was attempted
interference of corruption.
This was attempted under the PDS, except that things didn't go right?
Yes, but we have the lesson of that. We know that there was some level of improvement when PDS took over immediately with collection and all of that. This doesn't have to take exactly that form. So what is the level of transparency and consultation that we need to do? Because the reason is that the two main political parties, NDC, MPP and NDC, played a role in this private sector participation we are talking about. The IMF program was negotiated by the MPP administration, and they agreed to these reforms, okay, which the NDC has inherited. And the NDC also agrees that this level of private sector participation is key in resolving the energy sector, especially with respect to generation losses, transmission losses, distribution losses, and all of that. So I think there has to be a broader consultation. There has to be greater disclosure of what kind of private sector participation are we talking about. ECG probably is going to be a holding company. There's going to be maybe 4 or 3 or so different private sector companies. This is how we are looking at it. It's still going to be owned by Ghanaian private sector and all of that, but they are not taking over the entire value chain and all that. We need to have that. But under this proposal and the way we have managed our affairs in the time past, I fear for what the risk that the energy sector poses to the entire economy and the fiscal space that it takes. And something finally, you will notice that the PCI policy coordination reforms that government intends to implement, they are mainly targeting, if you look at it, state-owned enterprises. Because over the last 15, 20 years, between 2.5% to almost 3.2% of our GDP is lost to the inefficiencies of state-owned enterprises alone, including ECG and then Cocoa Board and the rest of them. So if we go back to business as usual, it's just a matter of time, and we have to resort to the IMF and the World Bank for another level of intervention.
Right.
But I can see that as part of this, the PCI, the government has undertaken to conclude the private sector participation by June 2027. In fact, if you look at the previous administration, the MPP and all of that, the reform structural benchmark target that way. I believe that because of election and all of that, these reforms also delayed. But one way or the other, we cannot continue as business as usual, the way we have done things, because really, the consumer will continue to pay and will not get value.
Thank you. Dennis, how do we avoid and take away the fears of maybe what Justice Jones Doche will say, create, loot, and share? This looks to be a different situation. It's a need we have had for a long time. So we attempted it through PDS, didn't work, and now we are back trying to do it again. Yes, of course, just a while ago, there's been discussion about the AXA energy matter and issues of bribes. 1 million to the minister, 250 to his advisor, and other things. But doesn't this look like something we already need? So it's not a question of being afraid that somebody wants to benefit. That's why they are doing it.
Well, I mean, maybe I'll keep what I have to say and address this first. I think over-centralization is also one of our biggest problems as a country. It's the reason why we have a lot of fear towards some of these things. Because sometimes I ask myself, this whole ECG thing is power distribution. The generation is a different thing. This is power distribution. This is like the last end of the whole power need. Whatever. Gridco, they've done their work. The generators have done their work. Gridco has picked it up. It comes to ECG in its micro form. Now give it to us to use. Is that the case?
Yes.
I have been to other countries, and I keep asking myself, why is it that ECG is the one distributing power to everybody in every corner in this country?
It's not everybody.
No, I'm just saying. I mean,
generally, yes.
Generally,
ECG
is the main, yes.
The monopoly.
Yes, because again, in some serious decentralized countries, Equiapim North has Equiapim North Power Distribution Company.
Yeah, that's it.
Owned by Equiapim North District Assembly. It is owned by the municipality. They go and buy their power, and then they distribute their power to their people within their jurisdiction. What it does is that it improves efficiency, because this company has a smaller jurisdiction, smaller team. He is able to expand his customer service points to several areas, because it's just a Equiapim North. It starts from Obosumase, it goes to Eastern Premier. At Akufo-Addo, you go to Latte. That is it. Ebri is starting from, let's say, Ayi Mensa. It takes you to Obosumase. It takes you to Abuadaka or whatever, towards the Nsawim area. So these companies, they go and buy. Go and buy the power. Where is ECG getting it from? I'm just saying, where is ECG getting it from? Wherever ECG is getting it from, all these companies, they buy their power. Then they distribute it to their people. In fact, it would even engender better competition in pricing, because we are paying for ECG's losses.
Yes.
We are paying for its losses. We are paying for its inefficiencies, to the extent that we are even paying for its inability to collect bills from other people. Collect money. Its inability to collect money from other people, we are paying for it. So think about it this way. There's an ECG office, district office in Equiapim North, with a district manager. They are supposed to be having jurisdiction over all ECG assets within a district. But they are just a subset of the whole ECG thing. It's like ECG is in Accra and they have branches. Why don't you allow these smaller people, smaller companies, go buy their power and come and sell?
They do it in Namibia.
Yes, it's done in other countries.
They have regional distribution networks owned by the municipality.
Yes.
But then it's still a public entity.
It doesn't matter whatever it is.
Dennis,
it doesn't matter. It's about job creation.
But I agree with you.
It doesn't matter whatever it is.
Municipalities owning distribution.
Yes, no, they own the company.
It doesn't matter whether it's public or private. This idea has been there for over 10 years.
No, Doc, I beg you.
Why not?
So why privatize the distribution one and then establish a public entity?
Doc, I beg you. The issue about privatization public is
neither here nor there.
If the public institution think they can set up one company and also be able to compete and get the business, so be it. But the most important thing is that ECG sitting in Accra and serving everybody in the country is the reason why, as we speak, my transformer in my area is not efficient.
It's not
because the organization is overwhelmed. It is overwhelmed. It doesn't add up that in 2026, a country like Ghana has one company. One company.
Are you thinking it's an overwhelming problem? Or?
No, but it's not bad. But it's overwhelming breeds inefficiency.
The question has been, how do you trust an entity that has been making losses over the years? I've interviewed Ben Boache on this platform many times, of the executive director of the African Center for Energy Policy, and consistently he speaks to, because they do the research, he speaks to the threat to the sector, stability of the sector, by what we see. And now we are talking about arrears, $3.5 billion US.
Have you analyzed the sources?
We have to change the structure. Until we change the structure, the losses will continue to come. Because when you go to Nungwa and Teshi, the same ECG that we are talking about is the one that's supposed to be collecting bills from there. They are unable to collect it, so we are paying for
Aboblosi. People have connected power there. Nobody goes there.
But the biggest defaulter of power is the government. So why you mention Aboblosi?
So you see this whole problem.
According to
the
Africa Center for...
No, but what is it? An organization that is making losses, what's your problem?
The losses significantly have been as a result of collection inefficiency, widespread power theft.
Yes.
He speaks about the revenue collection, which is weak, partly due to illegal connections and meter bypassing, which deprive the sector of much-needed income. The prevalence of electricity theft limits the sector's ability to finance its operations without relying on state support.
Council, you let me alone. Government. For me, if I want to do the politics of the day, we just keep going around, because otherwise, the Minister for Energy told us that in 100 days, emphatically, is on video, in 100 days, he will fix ECG's problems. We are in how many days now? He said it. He was quite emphatic on video. He said it.
Yeah, but since they came into power, he's been telling us about this particular project.
You don't have to tell us. He said he will do it in 100 days. Why are you telling us? Why is it?
He told us again that this will be done in 2027.
No, but he knew that, but he said in 100 days. That's why I said I don't want to go in.
He's allowed to change his
That's why his inability to do it is obvious. We don't have to waste time on that. I still insist that in this country, we can advance only if we properly decentralize. TUC's concerns about all these things is the same with all the decentralization efforts we made in this country in the past. When we wanted to decentralize education, they fought against it. When we wanted to decentralize health, they fought against it.
When was that?
Oh, let me tell you, one of the reasons why Ghana's education structure is still as it is now is because we are not being allowed to devolve properly. Basic education is not supposed to be run by Ghana Education Service in Accra. It is not done. So I'm saying that the resistance is there. But whether we like it or not, if we want to stop having this ECG conversation this way, let's decentralize it.
Thank you.
Let's make sure that small companies.
Thank you, Prof. Yes, Prof, let's hear you.
I've been looking at, again, that brings us to an interesting conversation we had during the National Economic...
Why is the government bent on this?
No, I wouldn't say government is bent on it. It's a discussion on the table.
Right. No, it's not a discussion.
Right, and as you indicate, there's an IMF conditionality to the privatization based on this. So it's a conversation we are having. I mean, we may have divergent views on these issues, and I was just bringing out my divergent view, not government's divergent view. And I think in the room is only eminent Togbe Afede, who possibly agreed with my view during the economic forum, the National Economic Forum. We're like, look, ECG in its current state, with all the balloons of debts or whatsoever, is still a very viable company in economic terms, based on the utility it provides. So like, look, why don't we list the go public, clean it up a bit, and go public with it. In that case, there is stewardship, there's fiduciary responsibility, right? Because there will be what? Individual or, agency participation, or those that may probably decide to buy shares within the company. There's another alternative we may probably want to discuss. But again, when we talk about privatization, I think that we are looking at it in the sense of, okay, we are just going to put the entirety of ECG in private hands. No. There's been a conversation. There's been an IMF conditionality which has been inherited or grandfathered to this current government, which is being looked at. But you look at ECG in itself, it's a corporate behemoth. And the complexity of power generation and institutional players even makes it more complex and more. It's that, GNPC plays a role. Ghana Gas at the upstream side of things, all the way to the midstream where we have other players with great code. Then you have the last mile, which is ECG. But you see, I think that efficient, and thanks to the current MD, Engineer Pepene, who is doing a fantastic job in trying to see how... Oh, come on.
Sometimes
but if you're able to cut losses,
because the losses were it was 1.6 billion in 2024.
Yes.
Now it has come to 1.4.
We don't know how to go this way.
So if improvements are being made, and someone is saying someone is doing that.
Stop heckling him. Stop heckling him. Prof, continue.
No, I'm not going to fall for any heckling here because we are engaging a dissent.
They have legitimate questions.
Yeah, they are legitimate questions, and of course, the legitimate questions will be asked for what has been inherited for, but where is being directed to, we have to pat people at the back for also doing the right thing. And that's how we, grow state institutions or even private sector institutions. So you look at what is happening now in terms of ECG. Some efficiencies and some improvements are ongoing.
No.
For example, look, metering and how to generate this. If you don't have an efficient system, there's a particular day of the month. If you don't issue the bills out, what it means is that they become deferred bills, right? That would hold up and will be rolled back in as debt. So if you don't have an efficient way of collecting some of these things, and if measures are being put to address this, that is some measure of efficiency that ought to be commended. We're not, this is, you see, the case of electricity, we've moved from a country of energy poverty to where we are today, so to trivialize it on political lens whatsoever. Right, but come to think of it, Samson, and the politicization which we bring to ECG, back in the day, who cared who the MD of ECG was? I mean, back in the day, right? This is to tell you how we allowed state institutions to function. But today, it's become a political subject as to who even becomes the MD, such that people are pushing over themselves to sit on the board of ECG. Is it for the performance of it? Or for what else? So these are the fundamental questions we need to ask ourselves as far as what energy distribution is concerned. I think recently I have this book sitting on my shelf written by the former ESCON chief, South Africa, when he took over and what he faced. And they also had the good glory days of ESCON until what it is today.
When privatization came.
Right. So there's a lot more to do and several discussions to have as to what we're doing. But I think also in this country, when we hear privatization, it becomes a very scary word.
Centralized. Especially for a utility like
ECG. For a utility like ECG, which is why I think that the engagement on what is termed privatization ought to be illuminated some more for us to understand across which value chain of ECG are we privatizing, which hands are we putting on it, what is the process going to be like, what's the end result of what we're trying to do, and what greater impact can
the government's posture appears to suggest, look, we are tired of this opposition, we are moving on, we have to.
No, I don't think we should be. Yeah, I don't think we should be, right? But again, another sector to look at or aspect of ECGs, we need to look at procurement. Again, where we commend the commitment authorization regime to see what is being saving of. You have transformers, allegedly, I don't know, or cables or whatsoever, that are bought in perpetuity, right? Buy them ahead of time. So I don't even know by which time it's 15 or 10 years, they'll still be fit for purpose. Right? Storage or keeping them is a cost, or it comes with a cost.
Okay.
Transporting them comes with a cost. etc.
Okay.
So I think we need to have a holistic audit. Right, I don't really think centralization. I don't think centralization.
Okay, let's hear Kofi briefly, and then
some monopolies
and such that
some monopolies.
The time is gone. No, such that at least for some 30 seconds, each one of you can say something about how we honored the 8 people who died in the helicopter crash. One of the widows said the best tribute or the best way to remember them is not organizing this, but to fight the galamsey that they were about. Yeah, Kofi, ECG.
ECG has been a crime scene for decades. They even buy receipts for many years ahead. They've bought things, dumped them. So we know the problems. I agree with Dennis. By the fact of it is they've shown not to be capable of managing our power systems. And what Dennis is describing is not rocket science. That proposal has been there for at least 10 years. I've been part of those discussions. COSECA, which I belong to, we've made these agreements. It doesn't make sense to run Kukurentumi's local assembly ECG system from Accra if you can't do it. However, let's get to the crux of it. The central issue why you have IMF in this picture is this. ECG presents a clear fiscal danger to this economy. And guys, it's not a joke that the financial issues concerning ECG, how much money they are taking out of our system, okay, constitutes a situation that can bankrupt this country. And has been there for so long. When it piles up, then we do an ESLA, we go and find some loan, we do something crazy about it. Meanwhile, power is being used and is being paid for. So it shouldn't have that problem. The problems of ECG are 3. Commercial losses, technical losses, and government using power it is not paying for. And let me say this without fear of contradiction. The thing that a private sector person is going to do is 1, stop government from using power without paying. Cut you all off. Why is that difficult? And when they do that immediately, they start solving problems. 2, commercial losses is people stealing money that ECG should be collecting. Recently, when they introduced an app, it increased by many 100%. It's just managerial efficiency. I'm not downplaying the issues, but this is what it is. It's not difficult. And let me tell you why it is not difficult. Okay, Philip Ayesu started running ECG under the PSP, Private Sector Participation, as PDS Managing Director. Philip Ayesu doesn't have great, wonderful skills and things beyond anybody. But guess what? Without PDS bringing any money, just changing management and starting to crack the whip, ECG with the same workers, the same equipment, the same systems became better. Service became better. If you call, they will respond. So I know for a fact that if you change the management and you insist on they doing the right thing, ECG will improve without us putting money in it. Wait, let me finish. That deals with commercial losses. Technical losses is transporting power from here to there. Okay, there is a mathematical calculation about how much you should lose if your machines are efficient. Okay, we are losing more than that. Fix the machines. All right, so see, it's not downplaying the issue. We've gone around this issue so many times. Privatization, which you don't like, I don't want to belabor the point about what I've done, what we've been involved in concerning COSECA, but let me tell you this. There are many models, like he said. What we wanted under the PSP as a country was $1 billion to put in this area to improve the systems and whatever it is. Millennium Challenge Corporation gave us $500 million. We took it. And we promised that we were going to do the PSP, and then the investor was going to bring the other $500 million. We took it, messed up the PSP. We didn't get the $500 million, and that's why we are where we were. Now, if we choose that we don't want any new money, which I think is possible because PDS didn't bring any new money, we can change the management. I don't care if it's foreign or local, because MTN is not, a Ghanaian company. But when I call, it goes. Okay. When PNT was doing it, I wasn't getting things going through. Let's get it done. If we don't want them to bring investments, as in bring money and therefore own part of ECG, we can pay them a management fee. All right. But I agree that the problems are in the last mile. Okay. And so go back to what Dennis has just said, because it's been there already. Right. There's no reason why every district should not own its own electricity. Simple. Okay. They can even buy generators and produce their own electricity.
The show is brought to you by Palladium Residences.
Every district should
Live Smart, Invest Better, Heritage Christian University, educating compassionate entrepreneurial leaders. Abro Super Blast Insecticide, One Blast Total Protection, Valex Lease, Affordable Document Management Solutions, and Wim Tuba Hospital. I need to get to pronounce this correctly. Wim Tuba Hospital, aim to serve a peculiar health need. My guests have been Dr. Kwabena Otu, Godfred Bopwing, Dennis Miracle Sabuaje, Sharif Mahmoud Khalid, and Kofi Bentel. This has been Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. And my outfit is by Habil Scruter. You can get them on 0200 84 1988. Call them 0200 84 1988 and you get the best of kaftans. Thank you very much.